Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands and today it's the WNR345. What a huge show with NXT UK Prelude and 2 nights of Takeover Stand and Deliver. But I am not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by the Monty Mo Pod. How you doing, man? You alright?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back. Another takeover down, and I'm ready to discuss it, man. I'm so excited.
Well, so we don't play favourites here on the WNR, but we do get a lot of chat about when you will be on the podcast. So like I said, it is great to have you back on. We always seem to have a laugh, I think it'd be fair to say. So-
Oh yes, it's always something. I'm not sure where it comes from. It's off the cuff for the most part, but it always ends up, being a hell of a laugh. So yeah, I'm ready to get it going.
well, before we start with all the NXT action, of course, next month we're going to cover in depth New Japan and kind of get up to date with that. But recently we had the event Sakura Genesis where Kota Ibushi faced Will Ospreay, and we had a new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, like I said, we'll go into the details about how he got there in that moment. But I mean, just for you, what did it mean with him winning? What did it mean for the kind of sport in general?
Oh man, it means a lot. I mean, he's a perfect liaison also for New Japan to continue to expand. If you just talk about who Will is as the competitor, he's popular around the world for just being great, and I think this is established him. He's been calling himself the best wrestler in the world for years now, and it's hard to argue with his match output anyway. But this title run right here, this current new version of Will Ospreay has definitely put him on that level that he has been talking himself, as one of the best in the entire world. And you can't argue with it, when you take down someone like Kota Ibushi, who is the reason why those belts were, joined in the first place. But yeah, the story that he told to get there was also a beautiful thing. I used to marvel at Ospreay as an athlete, but he's now a complete total package as a wrestler. It's not just about the moves, it's the stories. He can be brutal. He can wrestle any style also. Like Will Ospreay has definitely with this victory have finally lived up to what I think he has always been, you know, compared to, and what a lot of people believe he could always be. And I think he's the craziest thing about it. He's just like 27, 28. He's nowhere close to being done, and that's what's the most exciting thing about Will Ospreay.
Yeah, and again, from a personal point of view as well, to have that kind of British representation as well going on there, it's a huge thing, and like I said, much deserved. And NJPW have announced that Carter will challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome on Saturday, May 29th. And of course, before Wrestle Grand Slam, Ospreay will defend the title against Shingo Takagi and Wrestling.
Takagi, yeah, Shingo Takagi. Yes.
Yeah, so you got and on May 4th. So of course, when we have the catch up with New Japan, we'll catch up with everything there. Of course, more next month. But let's get back to NXT and first, like I said, I have bought in to everything on the network and everything in the run up to NXT. So first, April 6th, I watched Prime Target, which was basically a 12-minute promo. You learnt nothing new about Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. I just about to get into it, and the thing finished. So I was like, oh, okay, right, well, maybe not worth watching unless you're kind of huge, Undisputed Era fan. On to the NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver Global Press Conference as well. I think that may be the longest title for a show, the NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver Global Press Conference. But
True.
I'm not here to kind of pick at it. We've got journalists asking questions. You've got Cole and O'Reilly, Io and Gonzalez, Balor and Cross, Fulton and Ciampa, Santos and Devlin. The table was fucking massive to fit them all in as well. But this was really good stuff. All hit the story home, of course, that we know. This is the type of stuff I like. There's kind of more sporting feel to it, about, talking about what it meant to them. Saying that, I don't mind training montages either. And I think we saw that, with definitely the Balor Cross match. Right. Favorite question that they asked it was why European wrestlers are tougher. And
it was a great question. I love Walter's answer too, though. He didn't really want to, be too disrespectful, but he made it personal. I love his answer to that question. But yeah, that question also kind of took me aback. It was funny that Beard didn't want to take the credit for it.
Well, of course, Wade Barrett did a great job, of course, asking the questions as well. Devlin and Walter stood out to me, but I may be a little bit biased. But I think Balor was loving a bit. I think Balor was loving a bit of Devlin's smack talk as well. It kind of got me really excited for the event, you know.
I agree. The press conference did a really good job. I agree 100% when Devlin was being, talking about the Irish perfecting the cruiserweight style. You could just see Finn with a little smirk. It was great to see everyone's reaction. Adam Cole laughing at the meathead comment by Io Shirai. That was also another great moment from the press conference. It did a really good job of just establishing not only more heat between everyone who was competing in some of these bigger matches, but also, just rehashing and seeing how I liked how they took because some of these questions were not necessarily related to their story, but they still found a way to kind of turn it towards, their opponent, if you know what I mean. And it was kind of cool, to see that. I love Finn Balor basically saying, after I win, it's just another day added to my reign. And, Cross, right after Cross basically was talking about how important this match was for him. It was just a great, smug Prince, like comment, and I loved every second of the press conference.
Yeah, without a doubt, definitely and check out as well. But we move on to the first night of NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver, of course, April 7th. We had a kickoff, an hour kickoff on the network. That's how dedicated we are to bring this to you. You got Sam Roberts and Jimmy Smith. Now, I looked up Jimmy Smith, former MMA fighter, apparently, done bits and pieces of commentary, but both to me sounded like Muppets. And I don't know why this was. It's like, hey, tonight it's going to be a great match,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like, And I don't know if you know about Jimmy Smith, who's just kind of smiling all the time, going, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
The pre-shows for me are always rough as far as the talking heads go, especially when I watch like every week of television. I've pretty much seen all the build. I'm just ready for it to start. Or, get me to the matches.
I think we see Gonzalez arriving. We get UK title. We get Joe. Samoa Joe sat down with most competitors throughout the kickoff. He sat down with Ciampa, and this was good. Ciampa said he's excited as he was back in New Orleans. I just realised they've Taz Joe. I think Samoa Joe is one of the most dominant kind of competitors. And they've gone, do you know what? I see, Vince has gone, I see him as a commentator, damn it. And they've Tazzed him up. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. But, I mean, that man was a killer.
I agree. You know what? The great thing about it is he just so happened to be really good at that, too. So I think he's really good at the role. But I think every fan, not only a fan of Samoa Joe, but if you ever just watched any of his work in NXT, WWE before that, all of us would love to see Joe back in the ring, whether it's back in the NXT or on the main roster. So it's insane that someone as good as him is just talking right now. I can't wait until he finally returns, because last time I heard a report, I think he still has intentions of returning. So we'll see.
Well, I hope so. I hope so, because we get the tail of the tape as well, and then Joe does the same with Volta. And I was just imagining a Volta versus Samoa Joe match. And I was thinking, Jesus,
my God.
Yeah.
Physical. So physical.
But what I liked about this interview, Volta saying that he doesn't count the 6 months that NXT UK was shut down, so he's got kind of a lot of catching up, So, and then we see that interview. That's quite good. And then some dude on Zoom who seemed really pissed off for some reason. I don't know what he was doing. He was talking a lot about this match, And backstage we see they're talking about L.A. Knight. Yeah, he's a smack talking. It's time. Like I keep seeing Stone Cold, and like I said, hints of The Rock now with what he's saying as well. But it's time he's confident that he'll be a new legend to beat Johnny. Onto Dana Kushida, who's going to be more technical. Angry Dude is back, and he loves the word technical. That's what's going on there. And then Tony Storm versus Zoe Stark. The pre-show match was added just last night. Storm's been adrift since failing to take the women's title from Io Shirai. Stark's been making waves, hanging up with the brand's biggest name since joining NXT, but she's not picked up many wins. We see Mickie James joining Vic Joseph on commentary, and added to this match. Before we get on to what happened in this match, when he announced, was it? I'll say excited for this matchup, but it makes sense being on there, doesn't it?
I think so. With especially with Zoe has had going on. She's been kind of in her own little competition, like you said, with some of the biggest stars in the division. Just going down the list basically of trying to give those ladies a good match. So it made sense. Was I necessarily excited? I wouldn't necessarily say that. Honestly, I came into it just like, okay, so we're gonna see another rehash. She's gonna come close, and Toni Storm is gonna put her down. But as we saw once the match started, this was definitely worthy of the position it was given.
I think without a doubt we see the cocky Toni Storm wearing down Zoe Stark early, but she refused to put the match away. She went to the top rope with a plan that was just stop cold thanks to a suplex from Stark. Storm just barely dodged a Shining Wizard only to get planted with a German suplex, and then Stark connected on the Shining Wizard for 2, and after a near full counter from Storm, Stark hit a super kick for 2. A series of suplexes set up Storm 0, but Stark cradled her opponent for a surprise 3 count. So what are your thoughts on not only the result but the match itself?
I thought the match was, solid. It wasn't, anything too special, but it was really, really good. Most pre-show matches, every now and then you get some of those classic matches that are pre-shows. I know, especially on the main roster. I know the New Day had some years ago, but those are, few and far between. I think Ali when he was in the cruiserweight division had a couple with Cedric Alexander, but like I said, those are few and far in between when you get those types of matches that are that great. So I didn't think this was like, of course, like takeover level, but for the moment and the fact that Zoe finally, surprisingly, like I said, prevailed, I thought it was great. And I think for the most part, this was leading somewhere, maybe, like you said, a Storm and Stark feud down the line or something like that. But, it was great. I love the fact that, their names together is Tony Stark. So that's the thing that caught my attention from immediately. So I definitely enjoyed it.
Tag team.
Yeah, who knows? We may get us a Tony Stark.
Johnny Gargano can make the entrance tires, can't he?
Exactly.
Anyway, back to the match. It looks like Toni Storm may have to restart from where she is at this moment in time, but it was the biggest win for Zoe. But maybe at this moment, but this is why the NXT Women's Division is so good, isn't it? Because you've got 2 talented women. You're going, well, where's the space of them up top?
Agreed. It's almost they're so deep that it's not really even enough spots for everyone to like you said, to get their just due at times. I mean, I can make a case for people like Candice LeRae, who could have been women's champion forever ago with her match output and the quality of matches that she gives. And people like her and Toni Storm, have not necessarily got there yet, as far as on the NXT brand. But like you said, the division is just so deep. It's kind of a blessing and a curse when you have that much talent on the roster when it comes to individual, accolades and stuff like that. Because only one person can be on top.
Yeah, I think without doubt, and I think Storm works better as a face, and I think this is why she, kind of heel to kind of fit where she is at this moment in time. But there's just, like I said, so much depth. Out of 5, this was a good match. What are you going to score out of 5?
I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was solid. It wasn't anything too special, but it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3 3/4. I think they just gave it everything. Prediction wise, WNR went Toni Storm in this one, so we've got it wrong, but it's not going to get any better as the evening goes on anyway, as Monty will join us. MSK interviewed backstage. They are ready for the biggest match of their lives. We get a promo for the women's NXT title match, and then Joe sits down with Raquel Gonzalez. She's been on tear in 2020, but she wants to make a statement. It means the world for her to main event. Her smiling though is really off-putting. What do you think of Gonzalez? Do you know what I mean? She's a big bad heel. When she smiles, it's like, I don't know if I like that or not.
It's so rare too, by the way, because like I could have swore at least most of the time I've been able to see her, she has been scowling at least a majority of that time. The only other moment I can think of that's prominent that she smiled about was winning the cup and winning the tag team titles at the beginning, being awarded those. She smiled, and not that long, by the way. So it's a rare sight. I agree though. It kind of takes away from that intimidation factor when she does it, but at the same time, she's human, so I guess it works. Everybody, you shouldn't be, I probably would have a problem if she was angry all the time. So it works.
It's not the fact that she's a heel and I don't think she's a smile. It's just like I find her more threatening when she's smiling than when she is.
Okay.
You know,
okay, I didn't even think about that.
If she showed up and just started going for her, and I'll go, I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
So,
I get it completely. That's crazy.
Well, then we see Joe sits down with EO. Joe is great. EO is so cool. I think that should just be official. EO says she's responsible for the women's division. It would be hard to argue at this moment in time that she is the figurehead of a fantastic division. You know, we get a promo for the takeover. We get a promo for the takeover event. Wasn't a bad kickoff, I suppose. I didn't fall asleep during it. Before we start the main card, what was your excitement level for this event for night one, and what match were you most to?
I was really excited. Especially when you have a match like Volta and Ciampa. You know, I just Volta. You know what I mean? In Ciampa, when I can't even put into words how excited I was for it, because I know how physical Ciampa can be, but at the same time, I know it's probably no one that can even match the physicality that Volta brings. So I was very excited for that match, and with that, and then of course with EO on the card, I was definitely excited for this one.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, we get the show started with Nina Strauss with the Star Spangled Banner, of course, playing the guitar. It made me proud to be an American listening to this. You know, it really did. No opening promo, but I like the skull on the stage. What were your thoughts of the setup? I mean, it is just a skull, but it did take me back to Survivor Series 1998, and I don't know, it's just because I'm old.
That's a great reference that does, show your age. But yeah, the skull on the stage was a nice. It was eye catching. It caught my attention. I thought that was a nice addition. Anything that can make it look not. I mean, unfortunately they have to be in the CWC, which is where they're doing all of their shows. But anything to make it not look like regular NXT television, I think it's an addition, and it didn't look corny. It looked great. So I thought it was good.
I completely agree. Right, before we get on to the first match, I watched this on the WWE Network over here. Of course, in Britain, we've still got a network. What was your choice? I know, obviously, there's a bit of hoo-ha with it going to Peacock, of course, even though they're saying you can get it half the price, whatever it is. I mean, what is going on over there, and how are you managing to watch it?
Okay, so for night one, I think they simulcasted it, so it was also on Peacock while also being on USA Network. And, I think the way they wanted to do, because I think on USA Network, certain times they would go to picture-in-picture, and on Peacock, they would show, everything that would happen. So, I think the way they did it, they wanted you to kind of switch between both, or they just wanted you to take the Peacock option. But I looked at it through USA Network, as I usually do. I tried. I also am not always watching it completely live. So I use my DVR. I can rewind all I wanted, even while it's still going on. So that's how I chose to do it with USA Network. But because I understand that on Peacock, while it's live, you can't really do anything. Like if I would have came in the middle of the show, I wouldn't be able to rewind back to catch up and see at the beginning. So I decided to stick to to my DVR and check it out that way. But the transition to Peacock so far, though, and the way things stream, the things I have been able to see live and watching NXT UK, it seems to be a really good process. Everything seems to be streaming fine. It hasn't been as bad as the early WWE Network days. I don't know if anybody remember those days, but man, the network at the beginning was rough, but it smoothed out, and Peacock's at the beginning so far seems to be pretty good quality.
Well, it's weird because like WNR, we used to actually do it used to be WWE Network Review, so we followed that since it kind of started, and then WWE got in contact with us and said they kind of wanted to stop, kind of doing that. We've covered it before. I did a couple of pipe bombs about it. It's great, but the thing is like you said, and now it's kind of weird that it kind of doesn't exist in America in that way. It's still on Peacock over here. NXT, It's on BT Sports, so you can watch it. But it's always funny because it's like it takes a week for it to get onto the network. But for some reason, both stand and deliver events were on there. But you know when Vic Joseph always says, "You won't miss a second of this in the picture-in-picture advert." For us, it just goes to an advert, so we miss it.
Oh my goodness! See, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Okay, you bastards! Like, but like I said, I watched it on the network, so I had no problems whatsoever. And our first match, we have no problems with this. It is Dunn versus Kushida. Before we get on to what happened in the match, I mean, these two guys, I mean, they deserve a round of applause already, don't they? How great they are.
Oh yes, I mean, before you can even get in there, I mean, honestly, these two guys are so good, honestly, and I will when I get into my star rating, I did take this into account. But these guys are so good to where the story. What is the story of this match? Who is the best technical wrestler in NXT? You have to be good when you don't have really much personal. Has nothing really personal. There's no title on the line to command everyone's attention immediately just because you guys are two of the best technical wrestlers on the roster in the world. Oh man, that just shows you how great that not only we think of them, but obviously NXT.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. So we start this match off with Kushida tripped up, showcase his technical prowess, but the Bruiserweight turned the fight quickly into a brawl. They battled onto the ramp where the Japanese superstar sent Dunn careening back into the ring with a long running knee. Bruiserweight snapped the fingers of Kushida to set up the bitter end, but the Japanese superstar countered into the fisherman suplex. And this match was more fight than technical. I think if you look back at the Gargano Kushida match at Takeover last time out, I was expecting more of that to kind of start off, but I don't know if it was a case of Dunn maybe not wanting to go there, or that's kind of story of it, and it was more kind of technical. Was that a surprise to you?
It was definitely a surprise, especially when you think about, like I said, how technical wrestling was the point of this story, of this match. But I thought that honestly, that's what made the difference. The difference in the match. Like, I think Kushida was still trying to prove that he was technically better. And the difference in the match was that Pete Dunne was like, okay, screw all this technicality. I'm more brutal than you can be. I will make you feel pain, and now you definitely won't be able to hang with me, if you know what I mean, if I hurt you. And I think that part of the story actually kind of helped the match out a little bit, even if it wasn't the technical masterpiece I was expecting.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. But we see the counters continue. We see the physical to the athletic as the men traded blows and holds all the way to the top rope. Kushida flipped Dunn off the top rope right into the hoverboard lock. Bruiserweight made it to the ropes twice. Kushida continued to shift holds. The Bruiserweight low caught the Japanese superstar's fingers in a tight grip, snapped the fingers, landed a vicious roundhouse, and then hit the bitter end to win. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh my goodness, man! I loved it. It was an incredible match to start the show. It set the tone for the entire, both shows actually. Stand and Deliver. It set the tone for both of them. It was competitive. I didn't have a clue who would win. Especially all the way to the end, honestly. And the only thing I thought was missing was, like I said earlier, maybe a title, maybe a more personal feud to make what Pete Dunne was doing to Kushida look even better. Because I think doing this over the title of the best technical wrestler, so breaking his fingers is way overboard for just that title. But if it was a personal feud, it would make a lot more sense to me. But these two guys are so good, man. You just let them go at it for no reason, and I thought we got a treat from that. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought it was really good. Like I said, the only thing that could stop this from being perfect was, like I said, maybe a deeper feud to make some of the brutality from Pete Dunne make more sense. But it was still as close to perfect as almost you can get.
Yeah, I think about that. I find these guys just so enjoyable to watch. But I think the thing is, though, I think Kushida's on a bit of a big match losing streak. And it kind of worries me a little bit where I always remember like Hideo Itami and people like that, kind of the way they've been booked. And it doesn't maybe, I might be wrong. This time next year he might be NXT champion. But it seems that every time I go for Kushida, he fucking loses. But it's not about that. It's not about that. The match itself, like I said, I give it a 4.25 out of 5. One question I have for you is interesting because I'm always quite, like I said, with Dunn, I'm always quite biased. Can Dunn be NXT champion?
Oh man, no question. I think he definitely has what it takes in the ring. That's no problem. Now, do they believe in his character work, and does that even really matter? You know what I mean? And I think it does, especially when you think about the people who have been NXT champion in the past. But he has everything it takes, and I don't see why not. He could be. I don't know if he could beat. I don't know if he would be the guy to dethrone Cross, but he definitely could. Mutilate anybody he get in the ring with, and I think that's always an element that can make you a dangerous champion if they want to go that route. Now, will they? I'm not completely sure, but I do believe that he has the capability to definitely be NXT champion one day. And to go back to your point about Kushida's losing streak, I do understand exactly what you're saying. He, losing these big matches can be very detrimental to him long term if he continues to do that. Maybe they're taking us on a ride, and when he finally does prevail, it'll be a great feel-good moment. But I do agree he has come up short a lot. But as far as establishing to maybe a new audience in America or to the rest of the world, if you're not like me and you're not familiar with him from New Japan, maybe this is also playing a great role in establishing just how good he is. Some people may not know that, so I don't know how far they're willing to go with him as far as like beating established guys like Gargano or like a Dunn, if they're not confident that the audience is familiar enough with him. So I think a lot of that plays a factor also.
I think I'm saying I went for Kushida in the Dusty Tag Classic when Alex Shelley came back for the time split as they got knocked out in the first round. Yep. I went for him when he faced Johnny Gargano for the North American title and he lost. Yeah. And prediction wise, I've gone for him against one of my personal favourites, Pete Dunne, because I thought they're not going to do this Kushida. And lo and behold, like I said, Dunne won. You are playing along with us on the main show. You did go for Pete Dunne, so you're 1-0 up. Like I said, not much else is going to change. Poll wise, Dunne got 62% of the vote. We move on next to the eliminated match. So we've got Swerve, Ruff, Reed, Crimes, Loomis, and of course L.A. Knight. What were your thoughts? Like we see the Battle Royal last week. What was your excitement going into this match? Because sometimes with multi-man matches, it's a bit of a cluster. Did you think the talent involved were ready for their moment at Takeover?
It's always that fear that it could be, like you said, a cluster, and you never know what's going to happen. But I thought the people they chose for this match made this match, like you said, made me anticipate the match. Like I said, knowing that Ruff and Swerve have personal things, knowing that Grimes is not only, just a great character, but he's always been great at taking advantage of opportunities, which is a valuable, trait to have in an elimination match like that. Knowing that L.A. Knight and his stuff with Bronson Reed and how Reed is always a threat, and you never know. We wasn't really sure what we were going to get out of L.A. Knight, and of course, the most unpredictable man in the entire brand. You never know what they're going to do with him ever. I don't know. I can't predict the next second when it comes to Dexter Loomis. So he's always exciting when he's involved with stuff. So I was definitely anticipating it because of who was involved and the stories they had going.
Well, I think without a doubt, we see straight away with Isaiah Swerve Scott attacking Leon Ruff backstage before the match that they were going to have a few kind of feuds in this matchup as well. The battle continued around the ring. Leon Ruff fought back and even hitting an emphatic spinning cutter off the announce table. I do like these two as well. I was impressed with the kind of, the fight that was going on. We see the Colossal Bronson Reed arrive and then throw both men around with strength. The two men could not match. We had a lovely triple German suplex spot. I noticed this in the match as well. We had a couple of moments like this, and I think really well done as well,
Oh, yes. It was, oh, goodness. It was some great spots in
there. No doubt. No one was put away in this match before Cameron Grimes arrived and brought the assistance of Swerve. Well, he is money, isn't he? The technical savage took out the Colossal with a moonsault for isolating Ruff as Dexter Loomis arrived. Beth said that him and Indy together would be Index, which I just thought was a great line from Beth Phoenix. Credit to that. Yeah. He DDT'd Reed on the ramp and then Swerve pinned Ruff to eliminate him. So Ruff is the first man gone in this match. I don't think that much surprise there. Grimes and then Scott struggled against the Torture Artists before the Colossal got back in the ring. Loomis got caught in the apron with a cactus clothesline to Grimes. This was a bit of the moment that I weren't sure because the cactus clothesline usually Loomis got caught in the apron. At that point, you always worry if he's got a serious injury or not,
Agreed. One of the most a great look. Always great to see it. And, I remember back in the day, it always popped the crowd, but definitely one of those spots that could be very, very dangerous. And you always got to watch out. I was definitely worried about Grimes, but at first until I looked at it again and saw, okay, he seems to be okay. So yeah, you always take a second look at those type of spots.
I think about that. And then everybody was laid out as L.A. Knight arrived and mocked the other competitors. Reed grabbed him by the hair and threw him into the ring. L.A. Knight actually impressed, and Loomis caught Grimes in the silence, but Knight slipped in and pinned the shortage artist for the elimination. This was a bit of a shock, wasn't it?
I was so shocked. I was very shocked. I could not believe not even just the fashion of the elimination, but just how fast. There's no way I thought Loomis would not be at least one of the last three, or maybe even the runner up in this situation. I was obviously I picked him, but I just couldn't I couldn't believe it. It was good though. I didn't think it was anything wrong with it. Again, it puts over just how an opportunistic heel, if you see what I'm saying, with LA Knight, and I thought it was pretty good, and it seems to be leading somewhere.
Yeah, I think that, and like I said, there's something wrong with a bit of unpredictability where you go, oh fuck, I thought this was going to happen, and then you're kind of into it and thinking, oh well, everybody left has actually a chance to win it now, Well, we get 3 remaining men attacking Knight, and the Colossus got the pinfall elimination off a running senton. Loomis got revenge by knocking out the Loudmouth with the silence. That will be a fun singles match. So we see the elimination there. Lovely exchange by the 3 left. Grimes then tried to roll up Swerve, but Scott reversed for a handful of elimination, and then Swerve planted Reed off the top rope onto the apron. I mean, like we've seen a couple of eliminations, but that was great. That power slam there, that was a move and a half.
Yes, I wrote that down. It was insane. I popped so hard, I couldn't believe it. Man, it was a great spot.
And then we see a 450 splash following, but it was not enough. A trio of house calls came next for a very close fall, but the Colosso would not lose. Reed fought back to hit a powerbomb, a reverse pile driver, then a tsunami for the emphatic victory. And after Johnny Gargano arrives to taunt the new number contender for his title, but what were your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I really, man, it was so fun. This match was very, very fun. I was genuinely shocked when Loomis was eliminated. I mentioned that earlier. And it was just full of notable moments, like you mentioned, the power slam, the cutter early in the match. The fact that Grimes, like you said, Grimes paying off Swerve. That's just, I popped immediately after that. And I liked how, even though they did eventually fight each other, they also, once Bronson Reed was along with them, they started back. Like, all right, let's jump him. I thought they wrestled a smart match, especially Swerve. Swerve really shined in his moments in this match. I thought the little mini one-on-one match they had in the end was really, really good. I really think Reed deserved him, winning this match, because it just reminded me how close he was to becoming North American champion. In the ladder match, I don't know if he got injured, but I do remember him being in that ladder match. And he was one of those guys who's been chasing the North American champion for a while. I only picked Loomis because I was going with an active story. I thought maybe him and Gargano had some unfinished business. Apparently that business is finished. And he's a great. I thought he would be a great fit, a great opponent for Johnny Takeover. And I gave it 4 1/4.
Well, like I said, Swerve was the star in this, but they're all good in patches. Reed winning is a pleasant surprise. This is another really good match. Out of 5, I'm going to give that a 4. Was this too long, or would you think? I think it was just right to tell all the stories that were involved.
Right, I think it went perfect. It was just right in that sweet spot. No one overstayed their welcome. Everything seemed to be complete once it was done. I thought nothing screwy, nothing that didn't make any sense. That's another thing. Like I said, I mentioned Swerve looked smart. Everyone, psychologically seemed to be doing, things that made the most sense. And I just love when my wrestling makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, it told all the different stories. Prediction-wise, like I said, we both went for Loomis, so it's still 1-0 to you. Poll-wise, Loomis and Knight were both tied on 40, and the winner, Bronson Reed, got 16%. We then move on to the NXT UK Championship, Volta versus Tommaso Ciampa. A nice promo beforehand. And Ciampa, to say he looked ready would be an understatement, wouldn't it? You know?
Agreed. Old man Ciampa looked like he was turning back the clock a little bit. It's hilarious when you think about it, he's much younger than he has looked.
Yeah, when he looks.
Yeah, exactly. He's much younger than he looks, but he definitely looked like he was ready. I think he mentioned in the interview, I think it was with Joe, that he was in the best shape of his life right now, and he looked like it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I love Volta's entrance as well, when you hear the dun, and you just know that there's going to be trouble. But it seemed Tommaso's jumping strategy early was mostly to survive, and Volta's chops made an impact on the challenger, but the ring general missed with a chop that broke the top of the announce table. Might be the coolest thing I've ever seen,
Oh yes, I was. All I said was holy shit. I couldn't believe it. He broke it in half. It was great. Oh man, such a great moment. Such a great moment. Really,
the replays and even the commentators go, he just broke it in half. Like, it actually did. And while impressive, it clearly injured Volta, and Ciampa had an opening. The Blackheart battered the NXT UK champion, running clothesline that sent him into the ropes. This setup Ciampa hit the fairy tale ending for a shocking near fall. Volta was clearly rattled, not able to get up before an emphatic running knee. However, Volta caught Ciampa in the ropes for a German suplex and running lariat that nearly won. The Blackheart dragged the ring general to the ground to batter him with a fist. The two fought to the top rope, from which Ciampa hit an over-the-shoulder, belly-to-back pile driver for a near fall.
Just think about what you just said. Belly to back pile driver. Insane, man.
No. I mean, I know you've got King Kong versus Godzilla, but I mean, these two, when they came off that top rope there, my word. They then traded chops in the centre of the ring before Volta threw him to the mat and stomped on Ciampa's surgically repaired neck. He hit a pair of power bombs and then released German into a big boot for the victory. What were your thoughts on this?
I must say, at first, the tail of the tape, having Ciampa and Tangible as psychotic throughout every time I seen it, it was hilarious to me. I don't know what it is, even though it's true because I know what he's done in the past. But wow, psychotic. And Walter's being unbeatable definitely ended up reigning true. Again, the breaking the table is just like, holy hell, like, what do you do about that? Like, he's so lucky he missed that, and then I can only imagine what that would have felt like.
Well, it's like,
go ahead.
No, about to say, like, Volta, but the red chest of Volta, like I haven't seen him in that kind of condition. You wonder what internally with Ciampa looks like after those chops as well. Like, to say they laid it in is just incredible.
The physicality of this match, man, it was just it was perfect. The psychology, along with, like you said, the chop setting up, the hand work that Ciampa started to do. It just took this match on another level. I love how smart Ciampa was, in this match. Like you said, he was tough. And also, like you said, he utilized chops against Walter. That was I've never seen Walter's chest look like that. You know what I mean? It was incredible. I love the way this match just went in general. It was just perfect in my opinion. I definitely gave it 5 stars, even though I knew Ciampa would not win. I still was on the edge of my seat because he realistically looked like, okay, he might beat him. I couldn't believe it. It was great.
It's the Taka moment we were talking about. It's that Taka Michinoku moment where you go in, he's not gonna, and then that once I think when he came off that top rope and you're going, Ciampa might fucking do it here. He might actually do it, and and that, like you said, is a secret. But Volta match is much like a Hell in a Cell match with the impact that person takes.
Good point. That's a good comparison.
But what makes him so good as well is it's simple moves made more impactful. It's power bombs. It's big boots. It's not kind of 630 splashes or whatever it is. It's simple but effective, and it makes it more brutal.
I agree. He doesn't need any of that, like any of the flashy moves that everyone loves to see. And all that. He doesn't need it. Like you said, chops, regular strikes, power bombs, just perfect. I love it. And then it's perfect, like you said, for who he is. He's so imposing and so intimidating. I would be pissed off if I see him do a moonsault for no reason. If you see what I'm trying to say, he's too big for that. If you see what I'm saying, you don't need to do that.
It's just like I said, he's fantastic. I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5 as well. Play this on a loop all day long.
Yes.
It's brilliant. Prediction with Volta. So it's 2-1 to you at this moment in time. 68% went Volta. And then we see a promo for Frankie Monet. She's going to be on NXT on Tuesday. We have spoken about that before, so that will be quite exciting. We get a word with Reed backstage. Johnny said tomorrow it gets real. The heel Johnny is just brilliant. I'm sure we're going to touch on that more tomorrow. And then the NXT Tag Team titles up next. It's Grizzled Young Veterans versus MSK versus the Legado del Fantasma. And we said it before. We're talking about going into this one. You just knew it was going to be crazy with these 3 teams involved, didn't you?
Oh yes, I was expecting an insane pace. I was expecting. Also just great teamwork. I think, like I mentioned before, MSK and GYV, and even Legado in this match, all have great tag team maneuvers and things that they were doing together. And that's one of those things that make tag team wrestling so great. Seeing 2 guys work together to accomplish a particular spot. So I was looking forward to this to see what would happen and how far they would go.
Without a doubt, this match was all action from the opening bell. The teams went after each other, unafraid to put their bodies on the line. Grizzled Young Vets worked MSK, but Raul Mendoza and Oaken Wild dived onto the field to take over the match early. That was great. And then we see double coast to coast, which again, you don't see that often. You go, do you know what? It's actually a big couple of days for Legado del Fantasma. If they can, win the titles here tonight, and of course Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship, are they doing right by Legado? Do you think this is a good position? We talked about it being squashed the other week, and now they've got an opportunity for the tag titles.
That's a great point. I think their depiction as lackeys should be, out the window, especially after this match. But the quality of their matches, even in the Dusty Cup, I thought they probably deserved a little bit more respect than they seem to be getting. And I think they're on that path. I think that's what this weekend with TakeOver has done for Legado. Even, in this match, I think this should establish them as more than just Santos's, lackeys. And I think Legado del Fantasma as a whole, looks better after these 2 shows.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Well, we see only Wesley and Nash Carter can change the momentum, going off into a flurry of action that was almost impossible to follow. MSK nearly got the win on James Drake, but Zach Gibson took Lee out in a nick of time. Gibson trapped the injured hand of Lee in the turnbuckle for Drake hit a dropkick into it. Gibson then locked in the Shankly Gates, and Carter barely stopped his partner from tapping out. That was great. And then we see Carter slowly passing out, and then realizing, that his partner's still out, can't tap out. But the guy del Fantasma then went after Lee as well, nearly stealing the win. Like I said, really, really good stuff. Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK took out the Legado del Fantasma individually to leave the rival teams in the centre of the ring. The Doomsday device looked absolutely brutal, no doubt about it, to the outside. And then Carter reversed the Ticket to Mayhem into a double cutter, followed by an elevated blockbuster with his partner to give MSK the emphatic win and your new NXT Tag Team Champions. MSK, what were your thoughts?
Oh man, I thought this match was, like you said, it was non-stop action. It was at a breakneck pace from the beginning. All the teams, made sure that it's not even just high spots. It was a lot of high spots involved, but I thought they mixed in a really good story, especially with GYV and MSK. Like you said, the hand spot, that was kind of a callback to GYV breaking, I can't think, Wesley's hand, I thought GYV had it won at many moments in this match, and Carter stopping him from tapping was just an awesome spot. You know what I mean? And I thought it was also, you mentioned coast to coast. A lot of maybe I'm showing my age, because when I see that, I think Van Daminator. Shout out to the Hall of Famer. So I thought that was a shout out to the Hall of Famer, new Hall of Famer RVD. But anyway, all the teams brought their A games. Unfortunately, GYV are runner-ups again, man. That's the only.
Yeah.
If I had a downside to it, that may be my only thing. But that's just me being biased and loving them so much. So, I gave it 4.25. I thought it was a really good match. I didn't think it was perfect, but at the same time, it was still really, really entertaining stuff. It definitely wasn't boring. It was at such a pace to where you almost couldn't keep up at times. But I definitely love this match.
Yeah, I think, like I said, with Grizzly Young Vets, always a bridesmaid, never the bride. But hopefully, Lou will get a chance. It's another great match, though. I think it could have been a little bit longer and with the elimination. But I'm just being picky because obviously we had that earlier. But I'd love to see a one-on-one match. And I think we definitely will again for MSK and GYV. Right. But maybe tag wrestling has arrived in NXT. It's a great moment for both. You could see the emotion and also the way they were dressed as well, the kind of green and white kind of to maybe DX or that right. kind of thing as well. Really, really good. Out of 5, I'm going to give that 4.25 as well. Like you said, really good stuff. Prediction wise, I went Grizzled Young Vets because I thought no, they're going to actually help out NXT UK this couple of days, and they're going to get the opportunity to be champions. Mm-hmm. I of course was wrong. You went MSK to win, so it's 3-1 to you at this moment in time. WNR 4-1 overall for the night. Poll-wise, MSK got 59%, Grizzly Young Vets 41%. The guy Del Phantasma didn't get any votes whatsoever in that one. We still see Stephanie in the crowd with Saray, who is going to be obviously good to see yet another talented woman joining the strongest division in wrestling. It's unbelievable the talent involved now, isn't it?
I mean, just with every passing week, it's just it's like they just get stronger and stronger in that division, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where people like Tony Storm fit in. The division is only getting better.
Well, speaking of the women's division, it is a main event time, and it is for the NXT titles. EO versus Gonzalez, and February 16th, 2020, Raquel helped Dakota Kai win her grudge match, and since then has been on an Impact. Just think how much has changed for her since then. June 7th, 2020, EO wins the title. I know the kind of with COVID and the way it's been set up and people saying it's not the same, but if anybody disproves that, it's a year that EO and Raquel have both had leading to this moment, isn't it?
I agree 100%. They were definitely two of the MVPs of not only this division, but like you said, the entire pandemic run of shows they've been on, especially like you said with EO's her match output. I think I've seen it floating around since this match ended, and just like a combined shot of all the title matches that she's had, and I couldn't find one that I didn't love. If you see what I'm trying to say, that's how great her reign has been. And then that's not even taking into account moments like War Games, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So, both of these ladies, and like you said, Raquel just debuted, early last year, and like you said, to come from that spot to all the way, like I said, to War Games or the feud with Rhea Ripley and where she is now, tag team champion, you know what I mean, and now to this moment, oh man, I didn't think there were no two more perfect candidates for this spot.
No doubt. No killer promo beforehand. We've talked about this, in the months that you've been doing this as well. We spoke about how to build a badass in Gonzalez, and it comes to a point like this, and after entrances and spotlight, I really like the screen though with the names on either side and the little fun facts, on each of them. I think NXT, the little details that I add to it, I really, really enjoyed those little bits. But we move on to the match and we see Io Shirai immediately went after Raquel Gonzalez. So actually, have I mentioned Io's really cool? Because I might not have done, but here we go. She hits the head scissors, takedown and drop kicks followed by a huge suicide dive. Dakota Kai then attacked and the Genius of the Sky causing the referee to throw her out. Surprisingly low, Gonzalez was not able to match his champion's tenacity. Shirai caught the challenger with a sunset flip powerbomb, then locked in the crossface when Gonzalez escaped. The Genius of the Sky followed outside to hit a moonsault on a ramp and then running double knees into the stage, which again is just awesome because it's the intensity of EO, it's the overall package. I can't, it's just brilliant. And then you see her disappear, and you go, I wonder where she's going. And that was not enough because 20 foot high. There's nothing she hasn't jumped off of yet in NXT. A 20-foot skull on the stage. It's so EO. Diving cross body. The impact of that, the sound of her hitting the crate, the metal crate as she landed as well. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh man, all I had to say was I just should have known that EO would dive off the skull as soon as I seen it. It is a tradition at this point. And also, she reminds me, since it is a tradition, reminds me of Jeff Hardy in the late 2000s when he dived off the top of the thing, the Tron on Orton, and one time when he did it off the semi, against Umaga. That like he was on a run of just diving on everyone. He pretty much made a career out of it, and I think EO's on her way of doing it too. I don't know how good that is for you long term, but man, is it always beautiful when she does, and she always perfectly executed almost.
And I think that's the secret as well. When you talk about how to do it right and those big moments, and it to look as devastating as it does, it just shows she's just so on point. She then threw Gonzalez back in the ring, went up top, hit the moonsault, and it was 1, 2. No, what? No, yeah. Gonzalez got the shoulder up. No one has ever done it. I was shocked myself at that point in time.
Yes, me too. She looked like a monster. I was like, okay, yeah, it's not gonna be easy at all. This is like when you survive. That just shows you how well they built that finish up too. Also, because no one has even come close. Once the moonsault is hit, we know it is over, and you're conditioned to believe that. So as soon as Raquel did it, it was just a beautiful moment.
I was expecting EO to run up to get the skull and then roll it down like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, chasing after Gonzalo. I was like, that's the only way we got done. But outside the ring, the challenger hit a single arm powerbomb on the floor to get back into the fight. The Genius of Sky was not given easily, but she was unable to kick out after a second single arm powerbomb in the center of the ring. Yes, that's right. EO's record run is over. We have a new NXT Women's Champion, Raquel Gonzalez. The night ended with smoke and fireworks as she holds up the belt high with that really disconcerting smile. What were your thoughts on the match and everything that happened after?
My thoughts on the match was just it was a great story in this match. I love how the smaller competitor was escaping the larger powerhouse at all costs. That never fails to work, in my opinion, when you have these two different styles in the ring. This match also shows how versatile a performer EO is. Like, she can wrestle any style, any pace against any opponent. I'm not saying she necessarily just carried Raquel, because Raquel definitely, her presence and her athleticism definitely was a great element also added to this match. But man, like you say, EO so cool. She's just one of the best, if not the best, wrestler in the world. I love how much damage Raquel took. She's been so dominant in NXT, so just seeing her in any kind of trouble is a rare sight. You know what I mean? It's a rare sight. I had to give this match 5 stars. I actually really did enjoy it. Like, it was, I didn't think it was that many. If it was a flaw, I didn't catch it. And the storytelling that went into this match, in each move, like you said, EO seems to be like, she's just like, they call her the genius of the sky, but like, she's just a wrestling genius in general, if you know what I mean. And also, one side note, at the end of the show, I was worried about Raquel for a second because it got so smoky, and I was like, there's no way that she's comfortable right there. So she stepped forward out of the smoke a little bit to hold up the belt, and I was like, okay, now you're doing good. Okay, now you look safe. But
I also like the bit where the smoke's going on and Vic Joseph has to go like, yes, and that's the end of the show now. Like, trying to get his fight because it's just like, ha.
Exactly. He had to raise his voice. Yes, that was great, man. It's the subtle things that just crack you up about wrestling, man.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
But like I said about the match, clean as a whistle, look what it meant to Gonzalez as well, the amount of motion. But this was the EO show, made her look like $1 million. And like I said, she is the best in my mind. I don't go into like Japanese stuff, the women's wrestling as much, but for me, she's the best women's wrestler on the planet Maybe, you might argue just, say America or, UK, wherever it is, but she is a superstar. We talk about that with like a Becky Lynch, but I think Io's got it as well. And people might say I'm crazy, but hey, call me crazy, I'm going to give this 4 3/4 out of 5. There was a talk about could it have been a little bit longer? Maybe it had been cut for TV time. What were your thoughts?
Yeah.
Would it help adding another 5 minutes to it, do you reckon?
I think definitely it could have used a little bit more. I wouldn't be mad at that because, like I said, I was enjoying it so much that honestly I wouldn't have minded, like you said, another 5 to 10 minutes, added on. Maybe I agree with you 100% if it was just completely on Peacock, kind of like a match, the main event that we're going to talk about for night 2. It maybe would have had a longer leash if it wasn't just, like you said, accounting for television time. But like I said, I was completely invested, and then it made sense, especially since we mentioned that no one kicked out of the moonsault, and all of that. But no one has even come close to even moving, much less after taking the powerbomb. So once Io took it on the floor, the match could have been over right there to me, honestly. Like, that's just how over, or at least how much I believe in that finisher since they built it up perfectly, if you ask me, that one-arm powerbomb. But, I thought it was a great match still, but yeah, I can understand people wanting it to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, but that's an excellent point about the powerbomb because, like I said, it's just another layer to the mystique of Gonzalez now as well, Prediction-wise, of course, the WNR went Io because they're fucking stupid for some reason. Monty went for Gonzalez. Final score 4-1 overall. So you only got one wrong. What a great night that was for you. I say for you because the WNR scored 1 for 6 overall.
Yeah, it's a rough ratio right there.
Wow, is that everything that could go wrong went wrong?
Yeah, exactly, everything. God, but yeah, it's a little luck, it's a little luck because Triple H is not the most predictable booker, or whoever makes it. He's not the most predictable, honestly. But yeah.
Yeah, it says Mr. 4 out of 5. Yeah. Anyway, so
fair point. Fair point. I'm trying to make you feel better.
Yeah. Poll-wise, EO 53%. So night 1 rating then. The match of the night is obviously the NXT UK title. Or was it? Was it better than the women's match?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I think they're great. They're great for different reasons, but definitely I'll take, like you said, Ciampa and Volta forever on loop. Just play it forever, and I'll be there to watch.
What would say the MVP of the night? I've got to say Swerve Scott in the eliminator match was great. Io, of course, in the main event, and Tommaso Ciampa for making us believe. I mean, who's your MVP of the night?
Yeah, easily Tommaso Ciampa, because like I said, I think most of us at this point, because he's been so dominant, assume Volta is going to dominate and defeat whoever he fights. So the fact that Ciampa had me, like you said, so worried about my pick, I have to give Ciampa props. He definitely showed up in this match, on this night.
We talk about the rating out of 10 as well for the first night. Before we get on to that, we asked everyone, how do they rate NXT Takeover Night 1? 13% said okay. Good got 21.7%. Awesome was 30.4%. And great 34.8%. So a great way to start. This was a great way to start, stand and deliver. I'm going to give this a 9.25 out of 10. What are you going to score it?
Yeah, I'm right in that range, right about 9.25, around 9, I think that's exactly where it was. It set the tone for what was to come. It had, like I said, classic matches, mostly Ciampa and Volta, but honestly, 9 out of 10, I think that's a fair grade for the entire first night.
Yeah, and what a first night it was. Like I said, it made us excited for the second night of Stand and Deliver. Before we got there, of course, NXT UK, which is, still going around, of course, shut down, as we talked about, for 6 months during the COVID, now back again filming in BT Studios. This is something that I watch on a weekly basis, or because it's only an hour show, sometimes I might have catch up with 4 episodes in a month, whatever it is. What about NXT UK for you? Do you watch it often? Have you even heard of it?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it. But I must admit, since they have returned, I have not been able to catch much of it. It's hard enough as it is to even incorporate. Like I said, I'm trying to incorporate New Japan into my podcast, and that that is a struggle. Because sometimes those cards are lengthy, and you're trying to also keep up with what's going on in WWE. But I definitely have enjoyed NXT UK shows pandemic. But I'm very new to what was going on currently, so I had to do a little bit of reconnaissance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think without doubt, of course, I'm here, of course, to try and give you a little bit backstory to each of them as well. We start off with April 8th is, like I said, NXT UK Prelude. We get the NXT UK Heritage Cup. It's becoming quite a coveted prize for the roster. A-Kid got awarded this early in the year, and they kind of do it in a British round format where you have 6 rounds, each 3 minutes, and you've got to score 2 falls to 2 out of 3 falls, basically, is what you got to do. A-Kid is the champion at this moment in time, and the matchup we're going to see versus Noam Dar. And of course, Tyler Bate was called out for this match by Noam Dar on the Supernova Sessions. And they'll have their best mates in the corner, Trent Seven with Bate and Shah Samuels with Dar. Of course, Trent Seven and Tyler Bate are Mustache Mountain, former NXT Tag Team Champions. And Shah Samuels known as the East End Butcher because his family is butchers. And actually, that's what they do for the line of work. He's been wrestling for about 25 years on the independent circuit in Britain. Guy, lucky enough, we've seen, when you've got like holiday camps or stuff like this is a guy that's been around there for so many years, finally getting this chance on the main roster. Plus, I love the way he talks. He's like, "Come on, you muppet." So it's really, really good. This could either be a technical wrestling classic or a dirty fight. Won't know until the bell rings. Like I said, British rounds apply here. So meaning 6 3-minute rounds, the best 2 out of 3 falls. What were your thoughts of the British rounds when you first saw it? Because it is a little bit weird for someone to get used to it.
At first, I was a little bit, not necessarily overwhelmed, but I wasn't sure what to expect. But as these two got going, it definitely grew on me. And I left this match wanting to see more of these, this style of matches. I wasn't so sure that the 20-second breaks. I thought that would probably, maybe mess up some of the pacing. You're not used to them, guys just stopping, when it comes to, professional wrestling. But it also reminded me of, sometimes watching, MMA or watching boxing. So it was beautiful, honestly. Once I got the hang of what was going on and what was the goal of the match.
Yeah, I think about that. So we've got Tyler Bate, of course, the first NXT UK champion, and we've got Noam Dar, a guy so underrated, a guy who, like I said, he's been around for so long. The original in the Cruiserweight Classic tournament on 205 Live when it first started, on Raw when it had the Cruiserweight division. People listening, it did used to have a Cruiserweight division with purple ropes.
Oh my goodness!
That did happen.
Change the rope every show. It was insanity.
SmackDown, he's been on NXT. Dar's been everywhere, and he's got a bit of personality, like the Supernova sessions that he does. Like the Piper's Pit of NXT UK. Round 1 will start after A-Kid appeared on the screen to remind everybody that he's watching. Good for him. We get Bate and Dar locking up before throwing some strikes. It was a total stalemate, and Dar went for a backslide, but Bate would counter out into the corner, and Bate got a roll up, and that was the first fall. Not even 2 minutes in, and Dar is already behind. Round 2 would begin with Dar having all the pressure on him. Bate would hit back and regain control, letting him run out the clock of the round. The break would reset the pace though, but Dar got some advice from Samuels. Dar would start the round 3 with some kicks to leg. Bate nailed the knee to the jaw before Dar hit a diving uppercut. Went for an airplane spin on Dar, did Bate, and he went around and around, but Bate waited too long to follow it up, spinning Dar until the round ended. I mean, that was a good 30-45 seconds there, wasn't it?
Insanity. Like, I don't even know how, guys like him, Cesaro, I don't know how they even do it without, falling. It's insane. But, yeah, it was definitely a sight to see. It went way longer than I expected it to.
And then, unfortunately for Dar, round 4 started with Bate trying for another airplane spin. And Dar went round for 30 seconds again, but he managed to survive it, luckily. Round 5 was the deadline for Dar to get back into this one without overtime. Bate started with some quick punch before going for the rebound lariat and being caught with a champagne super knee bar for the fall. Again, a great little submission there, great name for it, and Bate being clever because he knows he doesn't want to keep the damage or make it worse than it should be, so quite a quick tap out there. And of course, round 6 started with 1-1 Adar went right for the leg, with actually Charles Samuels going, his leg, get his leg.
Oh man, I love the coach's elements to this match. Also, it reminded me of those dramatic boxing movies, and you got the guy coming in there giving them advice. It was just great to hear him and Trent Seven had some great one-liners.
It's brilliant because he go there, you go, yo Mick, which one do I see through of them? He's like, hit the one in the middle, rock. You know,
exactly.
You're gonna eat crap thunder. And like Samuel just going, his leg, he's got a leg, go on, son, get it. Bate though, we see the two, and this was a great little exchange. Bate went right for the leg, but got caught in a deadlift German suplex. Bate went for the tire driver, but Dar countered into a pinfall, but only got a 2 before Bate hit the rolling wheel kick. Samuels then interrupted. You see the 3 fight in the ringside for Bate, dove over the top and took them out. Dar then sent Bate into the steel steps. So back in the ring, Bate boxed Nova Roller with a right hand, and now Tyler Driver 97 for the win. What were your thoughts on this?
Man, I really enjoyed this match, man. As someone who has not watched it regularly, like I said, since they've returned, this is really my first Heritage Cup match, other than the short clips of some I've seen post this match. So, like I said, this was some good stuff, man. The wrestling was great, and as the rounds went by, and I'm pretty sure this may be a staple of this style of match, but as the rounds went by, the intensity ramped up as it should have, and it just made me want to see more of this style of matches. 2 out of 3 falls traditionally without the British rules can be compelling enough because of that. That final fall. Who's going to get that final fall when it's tied up? But when you add on the time limit and all of that, the pressure is even more ramped up, and I really love that element, man. And this just really made me, like I said, want to check out more of the Heritage Cup in general. Maybe I have to check out A-Kid defending this against Bate. I can't wait. I'm gonna have to definitely start looking out for more of this style of matches. But I give it 4 stars. I thought it was solid. It was really, really good stuff. And I really love. I've always liked Noam Dar, but I loved him and the way how him and Tyler Bate played off each other in this match. It was pretty great stuff to me.
Yeah. This is old school British wrestling. This is what it's. I mean, I talked about having the Ciampa Walter match on loop. I could watch this all day, like an Iron Man match or however long it took, because, like you said, it's so professional. 2 guys just good at what they do. Great match, well told. This is kind of more about the pecking order on the roster. Bate is a guy going to be challenging for titles. Dar's there, who I think is going to be a guy to beat, not the guy to beat, if you know what I mean. But he's got the Supernova sessions, so he's got the relationship with Samuels works really, really well as well. I hope Bate does win, because since he's lost the NXT UK title, sometimes when someone's should be challenging for the championship, but he's just done that, and he's kind of not directionless as such, but just kind of moving along. And I think maybe a run with the Heritage Cup now with A-Kid, I think will actually help him out. But my dad actually watched this as well, and he talks about the old wrestlers like, Vic Faulkner and all these type of guys, and he got into it. And if he can get into it as well, so if he can get into that, then it shows you that the wrestling is actually quite good.
Yes.
4 out of 5 for me. Prediction-wise, of course, I went Dar, because I, again, haven't got a clue this week when it comes to predictions. I thought Bate's the obvious choice. Dar's going to get the victory. That's what happens when you go with your heart and not your head, I suppose.
Yeah.
Poll-wise, Bate 64%. We see a bit of Ilya Dragunov. His story is fantastic.
Yes.
We saw a little video since he lost to Volta in the match. It was so violent, it's so psychotic. Unfortunately, every time Ilya's in a match since and gets a slap on the back, he goes apeshit basically, and beats the crap out of everybody involved. Sam Gradwell goes around calling people you yogurt, which again, he's a really quite a good character. has just got destroyed by Aya, and he's looking to get the title. And again, long-term building where they're waiting for another takeover to have this match kind of take place, Aya versus Volta. But the build up to it has been brilliant. Also, Piper Niven, we see her as well. Great superstar. Again, would be NXT UK Women's Champion now if it wasn't for not having a takeover. She has been helping Jack Stars, who was a jobber. Jack Stars will be more known for the guy who took the first chop by Volta on his debut and left the red mark on his chest that I still think he's got. Just show.
What a rough gig. You walk into work the first day and they ask you to get chopped by him. Oh, my God.
They're trying to, with the trailer, they're trying to build him up more of a jobber now, but I think that's what he's always going to get remembered for. Our next match is Miko and Mackenzie versus Dawn and Kaylee Ray, the NXT UK Women's Division. It's quietly become one of the best in the world. This match shows exactly why. Last week in media, Mackenzie made a return to the brand and called out Kaylee Ray, only to be attacked by Isla Dawn. Eventually, Miko Santamora made the save, and now we have an absolutely stacked tag team match. This will be Mackenzie's first match on a brand since 2018, and a chance to show how far she's come. She's not been around because basically, you remember the speaking out thing in the UK last year? There was a wrestler called Travis Banks, who was a part of NXT UK since the beginning. And apparently he had been accused and kind of been proven of stuff even towards Mackenzie with how they're trained and, being treated. So she went away for a couple of years, but now has finally come back. Obviously, the story's not about that, but that's why she's kind of been away for so long. Miko, I'm sure you've heard about as a, being the best in the world, Right. Dawn is this kind of, Isla Dawn's from Glasgow. She's got this kind of weird occult gimmick that she's doing now. Bit weird. Kaylee Ray is the best one because Kaylee Ray, when she came into NXT UK, she's a veteran. She's been around for years, obviously winning titles. Right. And we were shocked when she beat Toni Storm for the NXT UK Championship. Right, yeah. 587 days later, we are here. That just shows you we were going. I don't know how she become champion, and not only that, she's done that since. And obviously, even with the 6 months. It's been shut down. That is a title reign,
Oh yes, man. Anytime you get over the 500 mark, or kind of like with Volta with over 700 days, those are like reigns that are no longer even common really in wrestling. We were as a matter of fact we're bragging over EO for lasting 300, and you think about it, so just that should put it in perspective. You know what I mean?
I think we're out of doubt. Well, we get on to the match. Mackenzie would start with Dawn and picked up where their brawl from last week left off. Dawn applied a tight headlock. Mackenzie broke free and got a big arm drag before trying to get a pinfall. Satamura got a tag, and Dawn backed off and tagged Kaylee Ray. Dawn took away the tag option from Mackenzie by pulling Satamura off the apron after a little bit more action, allowing Kaylee Ray to hit a running knee lariat. Back in, Dawn would launch some heavy kicks to Mackenzie for a backdrop driver. Mackenzie wouldn't stop fighting low, managed a quick cut to get the corner for a tag. Kaylee Ray would take advantage of the situation though afterwards by hitting a snap gory bomb Mackenzie before the pinfall out. Mackenzie took Dawn out before Satamura applied the STF on Kaylee Ray. Dawn helps it get to the ropes for Kaylee Ray, hit a front suplex, setting up a double knee strike on Satamura. Outside the ring, Mackenzie hit Kaylee Ray with German suplex, but inside, Dawn hit Satamura with running knee strike. Mackenzie got a tag and was counting the Fisherman Buster into roll up for the win. So what were your thoughts on the NXT UK Women's Division?
Oh man, I thought this is a really solid match. I was familiar with everyone in the match pretty much except Mackenzie, and I thank you for explaining a little bit. The commentators explained that she had been away and traveling the world, but it's nice to get a little bit of context there. But she really impressed me. I thought this match was more so about reestablishing her. The returning Mackenzie. I love the fact that she was pretty much. It was Germans for everyone, all of her opponents in this match, and I also was impressed with Isla Dawn. I had seen her years ago, but she's definitely wrestling a completely different, style now. And I'm not really sure, like you said, where the character is right now and where it's going. But I thought her and Kaylee Ray actually worked really well together for people who may not team together all the time. But I thought this match was solid. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, like I said, this is Mackenzie did impress in this. A good match. It was standard, told a good story. Young girl gets the win, of course, champ protected. I would think Niven is next in line at the next takeover or prelude, but after the match, we see Aoife Valkyrie come out to the ring and challenge Miko Satomura. There's a serious test for the undefeated Valkyrie, but she's really confident. The thing is, Ray, there is no way it's Aoife as a name. Because I had to look, because her name is spelled
Yes.
Aoife.
Oh my goodness,
How
it was
the
the most confusing thing in the world. I was reading the name, I googled it and everything. I was like, this is how it's spelled. I couldn't believe it. I had to go check out more of her work and see, because I was unfamiliar. I was trying to figure out what's up with the feather. I was like, what is going on? I was so confused for a second. And then, like you said, they were saying Aoife, and I was like, really? So I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I did not. Thank you for saying that. I did not want to be, looking like an idiot. But yeah, I did not. Those two things do not come.
But my problem is it's always trial and error. So like the first NXT or one of the NXT UK where she shows up, and I go, oh, here comes Aoife Valkyrie, and people go, what the fuck are you talking about? It's Aoife. Where the fuck is Aoife?
Right.
Aoife, you're saying? Like, what the fuck? It's like.
I agree 100%, man. I was so confused yesterday.
I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 as well. Predictions, Miko and Dawn. So I actually got one right, 2 for 1 right now. Poll-wise, 100% for the faces. I don't think it's a surprise. We move on to the main event, and it's Volta versus Brown, and it's the UK title. We talked about Kaylee Ray's reign. Like I said, Volta, 734 days. A bit more about Rampage. Rampage Brown, again, a bit like Shah Samuels, has been around the circuit for a good 20 years. The world of sport, they tried to rebrand it a couple of years ago. They actually had Wade Barrett doing commentary and being the commissioner, actually, when he was Stu Grayson, weirdly enough. And Grado was challenging Rampage Brown for the kind of world of sport world title. So Rampage is a guy who, when he showed up, was quite a pleasant surprise because obviously he's a veteran, but it's nice to get his moment in the spotlight, so to speak,
Right. I was a little bit more familiar with him. I've seen him on YouTube. I think I used to watch What Culture videos, and I think I remember him powerbombing one of their personalities through like a table at one point. So I think that's my first introduction to him. And I did some more research into seeing what more did he bring to the table, and I was impressed with what I had seen. I know he was a veteran, and I was excited to see someone of his stature go against someone like Volta.
Well, I went with my friends. I went with my mate once. And he took his kids, and we're sitting there. And again, this is in a local leisure centre, whatever it is, 150 people. And he actually made us jump so much. He came running towards like the third row we were sitting in, and we absolutely shit ourselves. And it's like, I don't know why I did, but yeah, I was just in the moment, I suppose. And it's like, but like you said, then you see these guys who are, for tiny little crowds and finally getting it. I say they're performing against tiny crowds and they perform in front of no one now. But you know what I'm saying,
I know exactly what you mean. You talk about the platform, not so much as the actual people in the building.
Yeah. We used to perform against 20, now we perform in front of 6. Like no, not that. But when we get on to the main event now, and then we see while Walter made his entrance, Rampage just stared him down. There could be no fear when dealing with, and he knows this. Rampage was able to match his size, and Volta would quickly end up into a hammerlock before Rampage moved into the headlock, was sent off the ropes. Volta hit his first chop, but Rampage kept moving and took him down with a shoulder tackle. Rampage would manage to throw Volta with a suplex for standing and throwing chops with Volta. Volta won out low and got another 2 count after chopping him down with a force that's proven to bust an announce table. Rampage would be ground down with submission, but this just fired him up, who hit a quick power slam. And speaking of power slams, Volta would go up top for a splash, but Rampage cut him off with some chops and took him down with an avalanche power slam. Ooh. We talked about Ciampa taking Volta off. This was maybe more impressive because of the sheer size of both of them.
Yes, I agree 100%. I mentioned earlier that Volta was put in positions I haven't really seen him in the Ciampa match. This was, like you said, even more of it, almost of that point. when you think about, like you said, how dangerous someone Rampage Brown's size can be.
Right, and somehow it would take more than that to beat Volta and take that title. Rampage went for a Larry, Volta counter with a sleeper. Rampage got about suplex. Dr. Bomb would land, but Volta rolled to the ropes and showed no pinfall attempts. Rampage pulled him to the middle of the ring, hit some clubbing blows. He looked for another Dr. Bomb, but Volta countered and hit the chop to the throat. We see Volta hit a chop to the back of the net and applied the sleeper hold for hitting the German suplex. The powerbomb again just got 2. But Volta went up top. Volta came crashing down onto Rampage and finally put him down. This was another classic match to add to the NXT UK Championship reign of Volta, which is getting legendary and might I say has even surpassed Pete Dunne, which I never thought I would. What were your thoughts on this match? And what a guy, in Volta as well.
He is insane. It's just I cannot believe the quality of I don't think I've ever seen a match where he hasn't. Just made me go like, wow, even pre WWE days, some of the few times I got a chance to see him, in the independent scene. But this is my first time, and if I did, it's been a long time. It's my first time watching Volta, like I said, fight someone this close to his size, and Brown was so explosive. And he, I mentioned before that, he kept putting him in the positions that, like the Avalanche Power Slam, I've never seen Volta be in those positions. But he adapted, and it was a hard hitting, and it was blow for blow. It was a blow for blow war. And, the Dr. Bomb spot with Volta having the wherewithal to roll to the ropes, I love spots like that, the teasing victory for the challenger, and Brown wouldn't stay down at moments, but at this point, I think I agree. Volta is just he's unbeatable. I don't know who would even I don't know who has a shot. I think what happens after this, especially after the 2 matches between Brown and Ciampa, you take both matches into account. How can you not look at him and be like, who the hell got a chance against that? You know what I mean? And I don't even know. And I wanted to ask you, like, who do you even say has a shot on the roster at defeating him? I know him and Dragunov had a classic encounter that everyone loved when it happened. But other than maybe him getting another chance, I'm not who even has a chance against Volta at this point. I gave it 4.5, by the way.
Well, I mean, at the moment, like you said, the problem with NXT, it's not even the problem with NXT UK, is Volta is so dominant that it would be really difficult to see who can match up. I mean, we've had Nathan Fraser, who, of course, used to be, I think, Ben Carter, who's just joined to kind of build him up. He's not ready yet. I would have loved personally to see Pete Dunne always have the rematch. They never did it. But I just always thought Dunne would have maybe Volta's number. But I think Dragunov, the way to build them up, I think the next time a takeover is in front of fans, I'm making a prediction now. I think Dragunov will beat Volta for the NXT title. But like you said, such a dominant champion. And with this, I mean, whether he does lose the title, whether he does and moves up to NXT, there is no doubt that he is going to be a dominant NXT champion as well.
Oh yes, oh yeah. I think that's the only way he can be. Like, not only just after this run, it's just I've never seen a match where he hasn't come off as dominant. He's just a dominant force in general. As a word, and I love the ring general name because he dictates. No matter who he's fighting, he dictates what's going on in that ring, and I love the fact that that's his, that's the nickname that he has and he rolls with because it fits perfectly.
Without doubt, he talks about the sport being the like I said, the ring general and the mat is sacred. But I had JR's voice in my head saying it ain't pretty, but it's effective and slobber knocker. But this, like I said, turned into a great big man matchup, move for move. And I believed after the power slam off top, Rampage, we had our Taka moment. I thought Rampage might do it. What a match they laid it in. What a champion, defending twice in 2 nights. Who's next? Like we talk about Aya at Takeover. You go at 4.5. I'm going to give that a 4 and a quarter. I'm going to give it 4.25 just because it was great stuff. But with the crowd not there, I think we've just added more. Prediction wise, I went Volta. So final scores 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf said, I suppose. Poll wise, 67%. For Volta. Commentators, Nigel McGuinness is brilliant. It's a bit of a shame Wade Barrett is doing so well in NXT because Nigel really hasn't got a spot. But I don't really mind that because at least when I watch the show, I know he's going to be commentary. Andy Shepherd, the other one, for me personally, just shouts too much at certain moments.
Yeah.
And I think if he works on that, I think it might be good. But I think it's a really good show overall. What would you rate that out of 10 as just watching this now?
Well, I gave it a 8.5, maybe, or like an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really, really good. And I think overall, for me personally, it made me not only want to check out next week, but the week after that and the week after that. It made me want to continue to reestablish my connection with watching NXT UK. And I think that should be the goal, especially for people in my position who have not been watching it a lot or who've never really got a chance to really get into it completely. I think being able to sway me and make me want to see more Heritage Cup, more Volta, like you said, maybe even not only that, with the 2 title reigns with Volta and Kaylee Ray, who can dethrone both of these great champions. Like, those are the type of things that I really love about pro wrestling, and the fact that NXT UK, contains those elements. I think this is a great show, and it made me want to check out more NXT UK in the future.
Yeah, I think we're at 8.5. This is just the tip of NXT UK. But we move on now to NXT Takeover Standard Deliver Night 2. Still April 8th. It's been quite a long day. We're on to the kickoff. Sam Roberts and Jimmy Smith, the Smiling Muppets, are back. They run through the card. We see Regal greet Cole and O'Reilly with security. It's unsanctioned, damn it. And we're going to have them separated at all costs. Talking about Balor and Cross, we see a promo. I love seeing Cross's training. I mentioned it earlier when it just brings a more realistic element to it when you see them, how hard they're putting into it. Joe sat down with Cross and Scarlett. He says Balor is the best NXT champion ever, but he will smash him. He didn't come here to get lost in the shuffle. Short, sharp, and effective from him. And Balor sat down with Joe. So much history between Finn Balor and Samoa Joe.
Right.
They sat down. It's just unbelievable. Joe, of course, has beaten Balor fully, and of course their feud for the NXT title and the blemish on the record, as Balor called it a takeover. They talk injuries, and Balor says they've underestimated him how many times just to prove it. He's no underdog. This was good shit from Finn. Everything he does at this moment, I remember saying, I weren't sure about Finn. This reign has cemented him as one of the best at this moment in time, hasn't it?
I completely agree. His character work at the time. I remember at the beginning of this entire run, I remember either coming on here speaking about it, saying that I couldn't wait for him to continue this reign and maybe become the Demon and maybe take on Cross. And I was just like, he doesn't even need that anymore. Like this Prince character is almost if not more entertaining, but it's definitely more intriguing to me. I love the not just the arrogance, but the cold-hearted confidence that he has. It's just it fits perfectly. I love the Prince character, and I think coming back to NXT is one of the best decisions he has made, and I think this reign was proof of it.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt. Well, we get the Angry Man back on Zoom. It's A-Rash, really. We're having a joke at the Angry Man. We get a nice tale of the tape between the two. 5'11", 190 pounds is Balor. 6'4", 265 pounds Cross. And I will say this in the tale of tape. You talk about being a big man's world with WWE. Carrying Cross at 6'2", 265 just seems massive, but that is a standard size wrestler. What it used to be. It seems now 5'11", under 200 pounds. Ciampa, Gargano, Balor. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of build in NXT now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's the type of build. In a majority of most promotions also at the time. You just think about everyone who's at the top of promotions. I can go to AEW with Kenny Omega, who spent time as a Super Junior. We just talked about Will Ospreay earlier, who was a Super Junior, and the champion before him, Kota Ibushi, was also a junior heavyweight in the past. Like you said, that's almost the ideal look and build of all of just think of the best wrestlers in the world. AJ Styles, Adam Cole, all of these guys are included in that. There are great bigger guys in the industry still, but it's definitely way fewer and way more great smaller or more average height size guys.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Then we move on to Shotzi Moon interview backstage. It's their way to steal the show. Shotzi is just crazy.
Yes.
Mickey James joins the commentary. She says the goal is the gold. I quite like that. They show highlights of Reed winning last night. We then get a Santos promo. Angry Zoom Man is back, super hyped about the Cruiserweight title. Devlin had to hand over the title to Regal, same for Santos. And then on to the kickoff match, Vic Joseph and Mickey James commentary. We see Breeze Ango versus Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. I mean, they were dressed as pirates, was Breezango. I mean, are you a fan of Seaman at all? Or is it...
Am I a fan of Seaman?
Yeah, just as pirates. I wondered if, we'll move on. We'll move on.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I have no reply.
We get another one contendership match next. It's Breezango versus Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Drake Maverick was carried through the early portion of this match, often literally by Killian Dane. However, he got a chance to show off his resilience against the coordinated tag team work of Fandango and Tyler Breeze. This allowed the Beast of Belfast to stay fresh for an impactful late attack on the former tag team champions. Breezango had no answer for Dane, who eventually planted Maverick on Fandango with a powerbomb to earn the victory. What were your thoughts on this?
I thought it was good stuff. Another kind of one of those things that you probably could see on a weekly episode of NXT, but I thought it definitely, especially with the stakes involved. At first, I wasn't even familiar that not only was this match taking place, but I forgot. I didn't even know that the contendership was on the line. Until I think someone mentioned it or something. But honestly, when you add the stakes on to the match, then that makes it very takeover worthy, even if it is on the pre-show. I thought the match was solid enough. And honestly, I may have picked Dane and Maverick, but I was pleasantly surprised that they won.
You son of a gun! I was about to say, Drake shouting, "I'll kill ya!" is so funny. It's moving away. That's fun stuff. They got a life to this team, and the entrance theme is great as well. But Breezango, should they be happy with this spot where they are, or because like I said, they are two talented guys. They've been the NXT Tag Team Champions, but right now, should they just be happy that they're employed?
That's sad. I hate that. I hate that may be where they are, because I don't think they deserve it. I think, like we said, both guys are great at what they do. Their workers. The problem is when you have their gimmick, which is still shrouded in a lot of comedy and a lot of entertainment, it's hard to place them or take them even seriously. Now, I know Dane and Maverick is another team that is like that also. It's kind of funny when you think about it. But, the problem is with Breezango, they've been doing this for so long in this same little spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a little frustrated, because they kind of been, even though they are former NXT Tag Team Champions, and you can't take that away from them, they have never really been the guys to where you're like, oh man, Breezango is coming. Just think about that. Have you ever heard anyone felt threatened by a Breezango? That's one of those things. Exactly.
Shit, Breezango are here.
No one is threatened by them. So, with that thought process, or with that being a part of it, then yes, I think they definitely can be a little bit frustrated, because now it's like, will you always be that team, the funny team that can give a great match, but not the team?
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm going to give that 3.25 out of 5. What are you going to score out of 5?
That's exactly the same thing I wrote down, 3.5.
So we prediction wise, WNR course went Breezango. I went the sensible option. I thought I went Dane and Maverick in the Dusty Classic, and I was going with my heart. So let's go with my head, and I fucking lost again. Monty, of course, picked Dane and Drake, so he's 1-0 Monty. Well done. Poll wise, we see that Breezango were the favourites on 56% there. We then get highlights of night one. Smirking Regal says everyone smashed it. He's making sure Cole and Cole don't touch. Regal has not fined Adam Cole for hitting him. We then see a promo for the match. It's an angry Zoom guy again. And then Joe sits down with O'Reilly. Cole said it's been a crazy year and he wants to sell his soul. Cole did actually set him free. Fights with honor and respect, but not tonight. And then Cole sits down. It's personal. He's not reckless. He's going to end things, but who knows what the future holds. But it wasn't for Cole. He wouldn't be there. And this will be the main event for night 2. Are you surprised that this is going to main event and not the NXT title?
At first, I was definitely surprised. I thought, the title match had definitely a good enough build for that spot. But honestly, the personal, kind of like blood feud style, that element to Kyle O'Reilly's and Adam Cole's feud, definitely, I can understand why I wanted to go last. And I think most unsanctioned matches, when they're like that, are done that way. So I can understand why, both matches may have deserved this spot if you think about the story that they're telling. So I wasn't complaining that, honestly, but yeah, I was definitely surprised.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a little bit of a surprise, but not a bad kickoff. And we move on to the main show, and Poppy starts us off. We get rendition of Stand Deliver by Adam over the Ants, and that's pretty cool. And we watch highlights of last night play as well, and then some heavy shit. We get all that. I always remember Ali B's entrance. I got to tell you, because when he used to come out, he used to be and that's basically what we're doing here. Takes me back to WrestleMania 18 with Saliva, eh? May not be everybody's cup of tea, but it's cool. And then we get the guy that goes, now. So before we start the action, what match were you most looking forward to? And what's your excitement level for night 2 after night 1 exceeded expectations?
I think you just said it right there. After night 1 exceeded those expectations. Not only was I just salivating in general for the entire card, because you have Gargano on a takeover. I mean, come on, he's rarely ever wrong, and you have Shotzi, who's always doing something to where I'm like, what are you thinking? Balor and Cross, and like we mentioned, the personal stuff with Kyle O'Reilly. This card was just strong through its entirety. I think I was mostly excited though for Cross and Balor. They told such a beautiful story heading into this match, and I was definitely anticipating, who would win, who would, become new NXT champion.
Yeah, I think that match, and for me, the Cruiserweight title ladder match as well, was one that I was really excited for, because I thought these two men could really deliver. And luckily for me, that did start off the show. Santos were making his way to the ring. We said we wanted competition, and we've got it for Santos here. Devlin is great, but is he too close to the Balor character? Because isn't it kind of the same thing, or am I just being a bit to the two Irish guys there?
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of similarities, man. I will not lie there. Devlin reminds me a lot of him, and his character can be that way, especially with the Irish ace. They're different, maybe enough, but I definitely can see the similarities, and I can understand why you believe that. Devlin also has way more of and I don't want to be disrespectful, but he has such a prickish look to me. It's a different, like Finn can be a prick. He's great at it, but like Devlin looks way more like one, and I think if he can lean into that role, I think he can be really good at being a heel. So I think that's one thing. I think Finn Balor, reminds me much more. He can be much more. He can do great job as a heel, but he can definitely work that babyface style also. So I think that's really where they differ. But I know they have a ton of similarities.
Well, it's that because the show that one of the last shows we went to before obviously COVID shuts all down was a show with Joey Ryan on it, and obviously mentioned that before, and that didn't work out well. But Jordan Devlin was there. Jordan Devlin was there as well. And to be fair, watching him quite close up and his interactions with people, and I don't want to call him a prick, but it just seemed like he was taking himself ever so seriously. Right. And sometimes it's like, I suppose he's young. He wants to get himself in a position. I would maybe expect a little bit more friendly, But again, that's just personal feeling. I mean, like I said, he's not going to affect him. But I just feel, maybe. But we get Vic, Wade, and Beth on commentary, and we're going to start this match off. We get a lovely exchange before the ladder gets involved. Jordan Devlin was the first to introduce the ladder to the match, and the first to get whipped into one, sent clear to the floor from the ring. Domination of the former of the current Cruiserweight champion as well. Continued to Devlin sent his opponent face first into the prop ladder. Now, the problem is with the size of Devlin's head, it is devastating impact into the ladder. You've got to be careful, Mr. Bobblehead. We then see a DDT off the ladder, Devlin onto Santos, which was really, really impressive. And the Tope Suicida onto the ladder, Santos to the outside to Devlin, backed up on it. Those were two good spots, weren't they? You know,
Beautiful spots. I wrote those both, especially the suicide dive against the ladder. Man, that was breathtaking. Man, it came to I wrote that down as just a spot that I would never want to take, but man, the way it looks, it's a beauty.
Down to two continue to back and forth with malice and intent, ready to not just win but hurt one another in the process. After a standing Spanish fly and a springboard spinning cutter, Devlin are ready to climb to the titles. Instead, the RHA hits a moonsault off the very top large ladder. The moonsault off the top was perfect, wasn't it? You know,
perfect, gorgeous moonsault, man. Yeah, and you know when they're that close to you and you're on top of a ladder, you have little room for error, and he did not even come close to making an error. It was perfect.
Yeah, and the Wile E. Coyote cam as well, you know, from the top looking down was just spectacular as well. And this seemed to seal the win, but then Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild came down to attack Devlin, and I thought, for fuck's sake, why have to do this?
Yeah.
Santos, his overconfidence, though, nearly cost him, because after their job was done, they sent him to the back, but the RHA's recovered in time to catch his opponent with a Spanish fly off the ladder. First with ladder to the face, and then the Spanish fly off it. And Devlin, again, tremendous there with a bumpy took. The two stopped each other at the top of the ladder, and as soon as Devlin climbed up with a ladder behind him, I thought, this is it. You
exactly.
know, we've seen this film before. We know how it ends. Escobar with a headbutt, sending Devlin through another ladder to take both championships. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
Man, I love ladder matches in general. Man, some of my favorite matches in like just wrestling history are ladder matches, and this was just no different. The creativity of the spots, you know, like I said earlier, the suicide dive and the moonsault were both breathtaking, and you know, and the use of the ladder was very, very creative. Like I said, I have a couple of nitpicking points, but I will make them after this. I love the storytelling too. I want to keep continuing what I love before I get to my nitpicking. The storytelling in this match, no matter what Santos did, Devlin kept getting up. You know, I couldn't believe it. Like you said, when Legado came down and they jumped him, you know, it seemed like not too long. By the time Santos was in the ring and climbing the ladder, you know, Devlin was back up. It was insane to me how fast and like how many times he just kept getting up. What a bump at the end. It was very dramatic, even though, like you said, once I saw the ladder behind him, we both can predict what was going to happen, and it did. I wanted to give this match 5 stars, but you know the interference definitely, like you said, left a sour taste in my mouth. Even though it wasn't like the bad kind of interference where they help him win. He did let them like go away, but I kind of wish that they didn't do it at all because it would have made this victory mean even more for Santos. And I also a little bit, you know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but I only counted like 2 or 3 times where they just were going after the belt. And so they didn't. That's one of my favorite elements of a ladder match is the scramble of people continuously trying to attempt to take the title because that is your goal. Even though I understand you need to damage the other guy before that, but I still like when people are continuously attempting to finish this because why would you want to stay in a match like a ladder match any longer than you have to if you really think about it. But anyway, I thought this match was awesome, just not perfect. I gave it 4.5 stars.
Well, 4.5. I mean, this was good, but maybe it's my fault because I was expecting great in this one. And again, I've got a few things to work out. First off, why didn't they have the ladders out? It's a ladder match. You know you're going to use ladders.
Yes.
Why go onto the ring and get... Maybe you could say, oh, well, because the suicide dive then wouldn't have worked. But just have it set up in that direction. They're NXT extras. They're not paying to see the shows. I fuck them. You know,
right.
I think that would make more sense. First chink for me in the Santos armor, he seemed a bit blown up and took ages kind of waiting for spots at certain times.
Yeah.
I feel like this was kind of Devlin's coming out party. Even with the bumps, it was Devlin who took the risk and it was Santos who was kind of going on. I think Devlin was working at a different level, you know, but I think the bumps, I'm going to give it 4.25 because it deserved that score for what they took in this match, even though they didn't kind of mesh as well as we hoped for, you know. Would that be fair?
I agree 100%. It could have been so much better, but I agree. Devlin left this match, even though he lost. I don't see how you not look at that match and not look at Devlin a little bit differently and take him way. He looked like a star. Like I said, he kept getting up. He showed tremendous heart, and he, like you said, he took the brunt of a lot of the crazy spots that we got a chance to see. So I must say, after I call Escobar overrated, he has done everything he can to show me that he has value. So I have to once again take that back because I don't think he's overrated. But I agree, him and Devlin seem to be at two different levels, and I think it showed as longer the match went along.
But you don't bet against an ace, and neither did we. We both went Devlin, so it's 1-0 still. With Monty in the lead. Poll-wise, Santos got 56%. Then we see MSK interview backstage. They're happy to be champs, and they welcome the challengers. And then they both give different predictions for the co-main events, which again is quite funny because it shows that they're not taking sides. And then we move on to the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match. Shotzi Blackheart and Evermoon versus The Way. And The Way and Indy Hartwell struck right at the bell, getting Blackheart alone. When Evermoon got the hot tag, she ran over The Way until the Poison Pixie tripped her on the top rope. And then we see the Tower of Doom position, and it was the power bomb and the suplex, and that looked really, really good to start the match off, didn't it? Really.
I love those ladder spots in the women and multi-man matches. Those, just like you said, the human ladders, the human tower. I love when those spots happen, and this one looked just as good as any of them I've ever seen.
I mean, The Way targeted Moon, but Blackheart had to save the War Goddess at the crucial moment, diving into both members of The Way. And then top rope, a tope suicida by Shotzi looked like it killed her. How many chances does she take when she just went through The Way? You go, oh, fuck, she's done now.
Io Shirai being cool is a tradition. Io Shirai diving off something is a tradition. Shotzi Blackheart doing something where I'm like, holy shit, or are you okay? Like, just immediately, like, okay, ref, please check on her. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a tradition also for Takeover. I don't understand it. She may be just the toughest. She's tough as hell. That's all I can say. She's tough as hell. Take that. She takes bumps and just keeps on going. No, and usually no sells when it comes to this suicide dive spot.
It's just crazy what she does. She just looks like she folds herself up. And you go, my God. But we see Moon off the top of the outside taking out The Way. However, The Ray refused to lose, kicking out of an impressive tag team maneuver from the champions. Hartwell and Ray hit The Way for a near fall. That Moon needs to break up, but the War Goddess connected on a double eclipse, and then Blackheart planted Hartwell with a diving senton to win. I love the eclipse, and a double one that makes me doubly excited. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
From the beginning of the match, like you said, with the isolation tactics, I love smart tag team wrestling, and isolation is always one of those things that will forever just be a smart thing to do in those situations. I really thought Indy Hartwell, man, impressed me. I think I mentioned this in a couple of their matches in the Cup when they fought, that she impressed me. But she hung with the rest of these ladies really well. She did not look like the green one out. I saw Candice LeRae have a nice personal post for her celebrating her first, takeover, and she talked about just how Indy has reinvigorated her love for wrestling, and that's a great thing to have said when you think about, just like I said earlier, the quality of wrestler that Candice LeRae is. And I think obviously being around LeRae has rubbed off or had a big impact on Indy's work. And like I said, Shotzi continuing that tradition of killing herself for our entertainment. How can you not just love her? All four girls are great. Like you said, the Eclipse, one of the greatest finishers of all time. The stunner was already great, but then you add the aerial aspect of it. How can you argue with that, outcome? I gave it 4 1/4. I thought maybe this match could even win a little bit longer than it did. But, it still did its job, and I think the right team won with the champions retaining.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think the match could have gone longer. This was enjoyable. Felt more of an episode of NXT rather than a kind of takeover. I don't know, is kind of the way, maybe not being a threat. We talked about Candice LeRae's kind of win-loss streak as well, you know, kind of maybe not being the best and having a little bit more. And of course, we should mention Ember with the suck it as well, in tribute to Road Dogg, who is recovering from a heart attack. I thought that was a lovely touch as well, you know.
Right, it was beautiful. I love that moment also.
I'm going to give that 3 3/4 out of 5. It was a good, like I said, it's a takeover, so I expect a little bit more. Prediction wise, both went Shotzi and Moon to the first point for the WNR. Yes. 2-1 to Monty low. Poll wise, Shotzi and Moon got 55%. We see Balor get ready backstage and cross training in sepia, I suppose. They recap Reed winning the Eliminator, and then we see Steph with Gable Stevenson. Of course, NCAA, Olympic gold medalist, just everything. And Steph's got this kind of weird that she does, where she's just kind of like snarling, going, yeah!
Some of the most emphatic clapping I've ever seen in my life also. She was the happiest. I was like, what is she so happy about?
We see, of course, with Gable Stevenson and Steph, we see head of talent relations, the unfortunate named Canyon Seaman. I just want to ask, are you a fan of Seaman?
Here we go again. Well, I did like, Pirates of the Caribbean, was cool growing up. Oh, we're not talking about that?
I think, to be called head of talent relations, Canyon Seaman, and he's going, I'm going to go and change my name. And he goes, all right. And he changes his name. What do you change it to? He goes, Trevor Seaman. It's like, no, you've changed the wrong name there anyway. Doesn't matter. We'll move on from that. NXT North American Championship, Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed. Can Johnny Takeover make this into a takeover event? Johnny has turned into one of my favourite heels. I mean, he's just brilliant, isn't he? We see the way coming out. He's dressed as he's the way he's Iron Man. He comes out dressed as Iron Man. He's just brilliant. He's all the boxes at this moment in time.
I agree 100%. And what I like the most about him is that he, like I said, he makes me laugh. He's great, but he's still so obnoxious to where it still works as him being the foil in the babyface's plan. He's a great person to have as the champion of the North American division that we said, we just mentioned how deep it is. He's a great person to have at the top, that person that you have to find, you have to overcome him at a takeover. And I think that's the greatest thing about this current run. At the end of the day, you can do all of you can get an upper hand on them. You may win a certain promo. You may even, like we mentioned, like we saw with Kushida, you may even tear his arm up and make him want to avoid you at all costs. But at the end of the day, you have to overcome him at takeover, and I love that element that he brings to every takeover match he's in.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, this is talk about Bronson Reed. Is his biggest moment so far, but Johnny really into his introduction, and then looks like he sees Reed on his shoulder making him jump again. It's the little things like that.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed looked unstoppable early. Every time Johnny Gargano hit him, the big man turned it around to a huge smash or slam. However, Gargano found a weakness, attacking the ribs of the challenger. I mean, Reed's agility would like the cartwheel in this. NXT fans at ringside got on my nerves because they kept chanting one more time over both events, over everything. Now, that chant can be used, but if you're like kind of want to be impactful or chop, then stop chanting one more time. Just stop chanting. It's almost like you've got a list of like 5 things you say, and that's one of them,
I agree 100%. And when we get to like the main event, yeah, I would definitely have to let you know how I felt about some of those fans, because one guy in particular definitely ticked me off. But yeah, I understand completely. I didn't mind it the night one when he did the Rikishi / Yokozuna, squat. Yeah. Even though honestly, I feel bad for the person who has to take that. I bet. I know. I think it was Swerve who took it. I know he was, cussing out the fans after that. Like, why would you want me to do that again?
Well, this is the thing, But Reed, the ribs were a problem for Reed last night. We talked about Swerve hitting the 450, and he was selling that, and they became a problem tonight as well. But Colosso kept hitting Johnny wrestling hard throughout this match. Great suplex with Johnny trying to fight him out of it. Well, you've seen the power when he held him up in the air, and Johnny's with his little legs trying to get him out, but being kept hit up, hitting with an emphatic jagged edge, but he could not get the pin. The champion took the advantage by locking down Reed in the corner and hitting a backstabber, and then after a poison Rana, which again was impressive in itself, Gargano trapped Reed in the Gargano escape, but Reed fought to the ropes and rolled outside. It was a great sequence. We then see Razor's edge from the stage back into the ring by Reed on Gargano. I mean, that was a kind of holy shit moment there in itself. Reed missed the tsunami and fell in position for a super kick. That was a great near fall,
Yes, I loved it. Like you said, and I love the fact that, the psychology of it with attacking the rib, knowing that your opponent's finisher incorporates the ribs. Just so smart, so smart.
It's great, and then we knew Austin Theory had to for at some point. He did it for a second time to avoid the second tsunami attempt, but Colosso landed a powerbomb all the same. We see a little bit botch off the top as well with the Hurricane Rana attempt, switching into the powerbomb. But again, what can you do in these moments? They recovered well from it. Theory saved the pinfall, which set off Reed. He threw Gargano into Theory, then hit a suicide dive on the outside man. A reverse pole driver needed to take the win for Reed, but he struggled to pin the champ. Colosso went for a moonsault. Incredibly, managed to dodge. He then hit a pair of one final beats to get the win. A great finish. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Man, my overall thought process after that match was Gargano is just a genius in the ring. When it comes to telling a great story, I don't know if anyone is better. Like I said, targeting the ribs and then using his speed to avoid Reed attacks early in the match, even though Reed, overwhelmed him with strength as expected, him being so much bigger than Gargano. But he was affected by that rib damage, and I love how he sold it. He moved slower. He seemed to be, almost. I don't know if he really was blew up, but he definitely sold it like he was, which worked well when you're thinking about rib damage, and just slowing him down, was great. And he was also, but continuing to dish out, like you said, powerful moves, and Reed looking resilient at the end, even though Gargano, like I said, it was just too much, and he was able to avoid all of the dives. And I like I said, I love the psychological aspect of that. And there is no way that Gargano can have a bad takeover match, and this is just another one of those times where I think he had another good one. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It wasn't. I didn't think it was Kushida and Gargano good, but it was definitely another great takeover match, another great performance by the champion.
Yeah, and I know there's a couple of botches in it, but like I said, when they're working the way they are, Johnny can work with any size, heel or face. That's like talk about a great performer that he is. That's what he can do. It doesn't matter who it is. And what is it with Takeover that Johnny is the greatest? I mean, what is it? Why is he turned up a level? Because there's no doubt he's a great performer, but it just seems we talk about Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, but Gargano at Takeover is just level, isn't it? I don't think there's any. Is there another wrestler with another event barring Shawn Michaels that even comes close to this one? This is the closest we've come, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is exactly the closest we come. I mean, if you want to say, like you said, mention Mr. WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels. Undertaker was also synonymous with WrestleMania for different reasons and all of that, for the record. So, maybe him. But other than that, no one is more synonymous with a single event than Gargano. And like I said, it almost to the point now, he's got such a great reputation at it that it doesn't matter what the story is leading into it. It doesn't matter if it's a title match. If Gargano is on the card, any multi-man match, it doesn't matter. If he's there and it's a takeover, then I want to see it, because I'm sure something special is going to happen. I think he's earned that, not only that with his match output, he's earned the reputation of that. I think NXT themselves literally are like, you know what? At the end of the day, we have to guarantee that Johnny has a spot, because we know that he's gonna deliver, and he hasn't failed yet.
No, I think without a doubt, and this is the thing. I mean, I gave this 4 out of 5, and this is Johnny. It's not a fact of carrying Reed because Reed did his bit as well. And speaking of him, can he go on maybe a Keith Lee run now? Kind of get the fans behind him. We know he's got the kind of power moves. He's impressive as it is. Can he go on there, maybe eventually get North American title or even the NXT title for him? Or is it a case of he's there and he's just going to continue what he's doing?
You know what? He's one of those guys that at the end of the day, you have to think that, I'm not saying he will beat Cross, especially the way Cross looks now. Karrion Kross looks absolutely unstoppable. But down the line, I can definitely see if they build up Reed the right way, he's definitely a threat because, I mean, what can you do when a guy that size is athletic as he is? And like I said, I've always enjoyed a lot of his work. So I think he's definitely a guy that you can see down the line if, like I said, if some of the right decisions are made, he can be a definitely an NXT champion. Again, at moments I thought he had a chance to win this, but at the same time, I knew that it was going to take more than just, like you said, he was going to have to land those moonsaults. It was going to take more than just, big moves to beat Johnny Gargano. And, that's what I like the most about this match. But yeah, I think Reed has a really bright future if they continue to build with him. We'll have to see down the line how much they believe in him. But I also would love to see him get more character work also because, like I said, his matches are great, but who he is and what he wants has not always been clearly defined. So that's another thing he can work on.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And prediction-wise, we both went Johnny, so it's 3-2 for Monty. Poll-wise, Johnny got 58%. We see Cole and O'Reilly get ready for the main event. We get night one highlights. Of course, the NXT UK title with Volta versus the announce table. Tommaso Ciampa. And then the NXT Championship match, Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. It has been a great build-up to this match. We see Birch, Dunn, and Only looking on from ringside. We get the big fight music, the dun, 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 which is great. Kross and Black and White. Ciampa is full of confidence at his 16th takeover. We get a big fight feel, great entrances. On the screen, we show Balor's NXT history. Of course, he is 14-1 at TakeOver. Kross is 12-0 in singles. It's great stuff. Balor with a red X on his chest. Kross with the gladiator garb. Before the bell rang, I was probably more excited for this match than I had been for an NXT title match in a very long time. Would that be fair to say?
I agree 100%. They did a great job of building up, not only continuing the build of Finn Balor and maintaining him at that level that he has been since becoming champion, and with the great matches with Adam Cole and of course Kyle O'Reilly, but also since Kross has come back, the stuff with Santos, all of this was a slow build to get him to this point. I was ready. I couldn't wait. I love the gear. I love the gladiator gear. I love the X on the chest. I think he was meant to be that he's the target. And man, I couldn't wait for this to jump off, man. It was great. I was definitely anticipating this.
I think without a doubt, we get onto the action and Finn Balor go to Karrion Kross into losing his focus, and it worked. The Herald of the Doomsday charged at the Prince and ran shoulder first into the steel post. Kross recovered, but he was not ready to get dragged into the mat with an armbar. The Prince went after the left arm and liver, the big man wearing it down with impactful strikes. Finn's work was great here, and the liver kick was a great throwback as well for what happened in the match. We see Kross then get his second win, planting Balor with a bridging suplex into a powerbomb for a near fall. And Wade was great here, saying at the time Kross checked his ribs, cost him the 3 count as well. Again, it's just little things that make the match a little bit more famous. A little bit more better, sorry. And talk about the abdominal stretch then applied, made famous by Wilbur Schneider back in the 30s. Not many people knew that.
No way.
We then get Balor's sling blade, setting him up for a running drop kick. Instead, he ran into a running clothesline, followed by the Doomsday suplex. And then he prepared for his finish, only to take a Pele kick that set up the coup de grace. Balor's timing there was on point with that Pele kick as the Kross came running in. Kross turned the pinfall into a Kross jacket. The Prince escapes and traps the challenger into the rings of Saturn. Again, great exchanges on the mat there. Scarlett encouraged Kross to reach deep to escape, and he heard her. He battered the champion with forearms, and the Doomsday set up the rolling elbow to the back of the net, and then the second one, and the 1, 2, 3, and your new NXT champion It is Karrion Kross. TikTok. Time is now. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
Man, I enjoyed this match so much. The early mind games was just the nice added element to the story. That Finn hinted at in his promo. He was purposely making Kross lose control, and he was laughing in his face at one point. Just to piss him off. Hoping he was making a mistake. Then once he did make a mistake, pounced on the shoulder, which is also smart because it was that element of Kross's injury history. You know what I mean? Even though I don't think it was the exact shoulder he hurt in the past, it was still smart to start damaging a limb. This is it was just the most damage I've seen Kross taking in his NXT career. Every time he started to get going, Finn had an answer for it. It was cool. And Kross came out of this match looking like one of the most relentless and unstoppable people in NXT, thanks to that storytelling, because he overcame the A game of an unbeatable champion, and also, he overcame the mind games. Also, it was well deserved. Like they said, Finn Balor probably couldn't hope to match him physically, so he went after him mentally, and he still lost. So that just makes Kross look makes him look. It adds the unbeatable element to it, And the match story was so good, and it almost was like so. It was so perfect that when when he did his promo a few weeks ago about what he would do to Kross, that the match fit in with what Finn said in that promo perfectly, to the point where I think they almost had this match planned back then. That's how great it fit within the story. I gave this match 5 stars. I was into it. The story was great, and both competitors looked great. And if this is Finn Balor's last match, or one of his last matches in NXT, what a way to go. I hope not, because I think he has more that he can even bring to the table to NXT. But I was in love with this.
Well, I mean, like I said, to deliver the second loss to Balor at a Takeover is a huge moment for Karrion Kross. There's no doubt about it. And when you consider he's beating Keith Lee and Finn Balor now for the title, that is kind of, Hall of Fame for NXT, so to speak. Yeah. There was one quite funny moment, I say funny, early going, and I completely forgot about the cross on Balor's chest, because they went for, the two matching up, so to speak, and Kross turned round, he had that red mark on his face, and I thought, oh shit, is he bleeding? and then I realised he had white back. All right, there you go. Like I said, I really enjoyed this match. Balor went out of this sword. Loved this story. Right, I'm going to ask what's next for both, but before that, I'm going to piss off all these AEW fans, because I think Balor for me at that moment as a champion going in, is better, or was better, than Kenny Omega was as AEW champion right now. And if he I know you're going to say maybe different characters, but what Balor's delivering, how he's going about it, how he makes you feel for a title match, I think he is doing. I think at the moment I'm enjoying his work more than Kenny's.
I agree. I actually agree with that. Kenny, as great as he is in the ring, character-wise and what he's doing right now, and I know they're trying to get to a bigger story, but they're kind of stagnating, especially with the Moxley stuff right now. I'm not really sure what's next for Kenny and his run. But match quality-wise, I always would love Kenny Omega. I'm not saying he's better than Finn in the ring, but like you said, as far as character elements, positioning, and who's more believable as a badass champion, I think the Prince character is just like I said, one of the best. If he wanted to go back to the main roster right now, like, you can establish him and make him challenge, whoever was to come out of the Universal or the WWE Championship scene. That's how great this character has been. That don't mean it would happen, because I know the main roster is a completely different story when it comes to Finn Balor. But man, I agree 100%. He has been between those two, he's definitely been the better world champion so far. Well, his reign is over, but he's been the better world champion.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I know exactly what I mean, because this is the thing now, and it's like, what's next for both? And I think part of the prediction-wise, because obviously with Balor, was the fact that I thought Ryder would get his chance to beat Balor for the title and kind of have that story overmatched. But of course, with Kross, they obviously had a plan for him to be dominant. This is the question though, because Balor, what does he do? Did he go back to the main roster now, or get maybe lost in the shuffle? And what about Karrion Kross? You asked about Volta with me earlier. Who can beat Karrion Kross for the NXT title? There's no one at this moment, is there?
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's the same thing with that, because he's been so dominant like you said, beating guys like Keith Lee, and he dominated, Keith Lee surprisingly. And, even though this match was a little bit more of a struggle, still, he beat Finn Balor at his own game. Like I said, he looks unstoppable. I'm not even sure. I can't think of anyone. I know we talked about Pete Dunne, but I don't know if that makes the most sense unless they're going with this tweener type of thing with Cross. Then maybe so. But Finn Balor, he could go to the main roster, but honestly, please don't send him up to the main roster without giving me the Finn Balor Walter match we were promised pre-pandemic. Because, oh my goodness, I was ready for that match too. We want to talk about that, and that was before this historic reign. Now, post this reign, like you said, where he's at character-wise, I'm not saying he should beat Walter, or I'm not sure what'll happen, but seeing those two guys in some type of angle or story that lead down the line, I think that would be perfect. And as far as Cross goes, I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head. I really can't. I'm seriously, I'm mulling over it right now. I'm trying to think who would be a great person to throw him in. Maybe Ciampa, but Ciampa, I'm not sure what he has going with Thatcher going forward. So I don't know. It's tough right now as far as the world championship scene. Who should challenge as far as like right now. So I'm not sure where they're going next with Cross, but Finn Balor versus Walter should definitely be something that that NXT should try to get before Finn does go back to the main roster, if he plans.
I'll tell you something there as well, because we talk about Thatcher, and we didn't even mention the fact with Walter and Ciampa that he might play a factor or turn and be part of the Imperium, and I think that just showed you the classic story of the matchup that we forgot that. You speak about Walter versus Balor. I mean, title versus title, Walter versus Cross. I mean, I have a clue who to pick in that one.
Exactly. Who do you pick? I mean, honestly, I have no clue at all. I would definitely sign up to see someone like Walter who can dish out stuff like that against a guy who has been pretty much unstoppable. It would be a definitely a great thing to watch, but I have no clue who to pick in that one.
All right. Like I said, prediction-wise, WNR went Balor. Monty, you did go for Cross, so you're 4-2 up. You win your well, but we've still got one more match to go for this entire takeover event. Poll-wise, Balor was 59%. We see Santos interviewed. He said he would win, and he's the Emperor of Lucha Libre. And then we're on to the main event. It's unsanctioned. It's Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. Big fight music, the dun 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 dun, and security guards either side of the entrance. We get new music for Cole, and the referee's wearing black because it's unsanctioned. Damn it! But NXT has all about the Undisputed Era for 5 years. I can actually pinpoint it when Drew McIntyre beat Bobby Roode for the NXT title, and Adam Cole, the Undisputed Era, debuted that night. Since that point, NXT has been all about the UE, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. Ever since then, they've been everywhere. World title scene. I think initially it was like tag team scene, North American scene. Then, eventually to the world title scene. No matter what, you had to account for what the Undisputed Era was doing. They had war. They're probably single-handedly the reason that War Games became part of the the takeover rundown, basically. So. Yeah, the impact of Undisputed Era on NXT, and I think it didn't hit me until Kyle O'Reilly came out with him and Adam Cole with different music. You know what I mean? It didn't really, when you don't hear that, the boom and the instrumental, you come to know, man, that really hit you, that it really is over. And I immediately thought that Bobby Fish is sitting at home. Like, I might as well not come back to work. Like, everything is completely different.
Strongest left. They've got different entrance music. What the fuck am I meant to do now? But, I mean, I'm like Bobby Fish sitting at home, and like us as well. We sat down to watch this epic main event, and when the bell rang, these two men charged at each other, throwing punches. It didn't take long. Outside, they each ran after steel chairs, and Adam Cole got the upper hand. He battered Cole O'Reilly with chair shots, especially using a chair paint with the Undisputed Era logo. Nice little touch there.
Nice.
The two went back and forth with submission holds, dragging in the chain that helped add to the carnage. The chain bump looked sick with Cole on O'Reilly. O'Reilly planted his former friend with a brainbuster on the announce table, but took a TV screen to the face for his trouble. Great bits. I mean, the amount I'm just about to explain here is incredible as well.
Yeah.
Cole used a series of tools to try and maim O'Reilly. O'Reilly stopped in Cole with a knee bar and a triangle choke using the chain. The two both attempted to stand before left sitting on steel chairs, in which they battered each other with closed fists. O'Reilly got the upper hand until Cole caught with a low blow. Cole took out the referee for getting his way, stupid ref, and not allowing him to win off a Panama sunrise. On the stage, caught Cole in a guillotine, and all that the former champion could do was careen forward through the stage with his former friend. This reminds me of Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow, the very first time it happened. But, I mean, this was still quite an impressive feat because it looked pretty solid, you know?
I agree 100%. I don't care what anyone says about wrestling. I know that hurt. I know it's no way that could not hurt in some way, shape, or form. That had to hurt. It was insane to me. Honestly, when you usually see that spot, it's the end of the match. So the fact that they continue with this crazy stuff, you know, after that spot was amazing to me also.
Well, it's sort of saying it finally, to put an end to O'Reilly Cole planted him with a brain bust on the steel steps, yet somehow O'Reilly got his shoulder up. He's turned into John Cena, is the only explanation.
Exactly.
The former champion attempted the last shot, but O'Reilly ducked. O'Reilly answered with his own last shot to nearly win. The two fought near the top rope, and O'Reilly caught Cole with a low blow. How it started, how it's going. And then finally he wrapped his knee in chain and sent that knee into Cole through a steel chair to finally win. And when I say a steel chair, the chair was the other way around. Cole, I remember he took a bump from, I think, Aleister Black on the chairs the other way around. I don't know what his fucking problem is, but he needs to stop doing it because officials carried him out in a stretcher, and O'Reilly looked upon the carnage he inflicted, uncertain how to react. What were your thoughts on this?
Man, I agree. You know, I'd be so worried about him getting impaled on accident or something. You know, when he does that, like, I don't understand why. He, just a bump on the chair still is effective, guys. You know that. He doesn't have to make it any more terrifying, but it served its purpose. It was the finish, so I let it go. It wasn't my first time seeing that type of thing also. So I like seeing new things, but yeah, I definitely don't want to see that often. The intensity of this match from the beginning, it matched that personal story that got us to this point. It was not a wrestling contest. This was a fight, from the beginning, and it was just brutal at moments. You can hear the commentators. I love the element they brought by just, Beth at times just calling for Adam Cole to stop. Like, and I remember Vic cut her off like, "Oh, this is an unsanctioned match. It can't stop." And I cracked up laughing because it was hilarious, and I'm just like, yeah, but I understood it because at some points in this match, it's like, what is it gonna take? And, I love this match. I really did because, it was a lot of stuff I never seen before. Like, the clothesline / chain clothesline kind of thing with the spot where Kyle O'Reilly got hung up. It was insane. The figure 4 leg lock with a chain. Like I've never seen anybody. It's almost borderline sadistic how creative they were, especially Adam at times, and that's why I get to that fan, in the middle of the match after Kyle O'Reilly is taking a hell of an ass whooping. Someone is like, "You suck, O'Reilly," and I'm just like, "Really?
Yeah.
Really? How can you watch this match and not feel any sort of sympathy for what this man is doing for your entertainment?" Like, what kind of? And then like Adam Cole hit the referee, and it's like Adam Cole, like, "You deserved it, ref." And I'm like, "Really? The ref deserved it? Deserved it for telling him not to hurt his friend?" Oh, okay. The fans. I understand. I like Adam Cole too, but really, like, I don't know how you can cheer some of the things at all that he was doing, especially somebody that's supposed to be, somebody he looked at as a friend. But again, that added an element to the story that I must say did, not necessarily help the match. It distracted me at times, but I didn't have too much of a problem with it because what these guys put themselves through was just unbelievable, and somehow they weave a story into that, because like you said, at the end, I love how Kyle O'Reilly he raised his hand kinda, but didn't really want to. It's like, should I feel like I won after that? You know what I'm saying? the only negative I can think of is like you said, at times I was just like, all right, it's no way. Like, first of all, that same spot on the steps had you on a stretcher a few weeks ago, and you kick out of it and you're fine. Like, they went a little bit overboard. It was a little bit lengthy too. At times I thought maybe they didn't necessarily have to go as long as they did. But I cannot give these guys enough credit for what they did just for my entertainment or our entertainment. I can't even do the match justice. So I will definitely still give it 5 stars because it definitely worked in my opinion as an unsanctioned fight. Like, it felt like that. It felt personal. But it was some elements that if I wanted to nitpick, I would. But just based on some of the stuff that they went through, I gotta give those guys all the props in the world because it was definitely a compelling contest.
Well, you can see Triple H's creative touch, when he's going, we need 30, 40-minute main event,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
One of my issues, though, as well, was the fact I thought at one point Adam Cole was going to bring out exploding barbed wire as a big fuck you to AEW. Go, this is how you do it. Blow up Kyle O'Reilly and shit,
Right, yeah.
This is how we end it. But what were we expecting? How could they end that when it was just so kind of not ridiculous, but the punishment they took, like I said, shave off maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But O'Reilly needed to win here. Will benefit from this run in NXT. I think Adam Cole may have more match minutes at Takeover than anyone. I know Johnny Gargano has got a few. I know Balor's had like 16 takeovers, but Cole's had like epic matches with Johnny Gargano that's lasted an hour. All the War Games matches as well, 45 minutes long. So, if you top up the minutes. So it looks like O'Reilly's going to stay in NXT. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, the punishment that they took. But the question is Adam Cole going to be up on the main roster? And if he does, how will he fare on his own?
Adam Cole is one of those guys. As far as if depending on maybe not only the old man's how he viewed Adam Cole, but I believe Adam Cole has the potential to be a really, really big star. I think they will really be missing the boat if they do not let him get a nice heel run. Maybe start off as taking on someone like Riddle right now, who's the who's the not Intercontinental, United States champion. Maybe start off with that, instead of like don't rush it, let it gradually build, let him, be who he is, a great, egomaniac of a heel. And I think if you can just give him guys that you can let him work with, maybe it won't end up being the 30-minute sprints that we're used to in NXT, you know what I mean, or those marathon matches that he's been having. But still, I think the match quality and his character work can work on the main roster. Now, will it work and will they take him seriously? I have no clue. I found out WWE says they're looking to get into the Lucha Libre and Latin market and hire more wrestlers, and they let Andrade go. So you make the main roster make sense. It don't make sense to me at all.
That is a perfect point. Like, there could be. We look at the Ascension, the most dominant tag team in NXT to the main roster and get used like that. Whereas someone like, another example like Elias, who doesn't have any success in NXT, he's still being treated as a jobber, but he's got a role here. So we don't know what could happen. But great way to end Stand and Deliver Takeover prediction wise. Both went O'Reilly 3. So over to you, Monty. You won again, but only one wrong on each night. That is great stuff. I'm glad NXT Update helped one of us so much. So,
I believe it or not, I think I've been I've grown up with Triple H at this point. I think I'm starting to think just like him.
Time to play the game. Poll wise, Carl got 74%. Night 2 rating. So MVP of the night, match of the night, and rating. I think my MVP has to be Jordan Devlin with just the punishment that he took in the ladder match. Second goes to Kyle O'Reilly's back. But I think Devlin's my MVP. Who's your MVP for the night?
Yeah, I think I have one. My MVP always when Shotzi does this. She deserves a mention whenever she survives any match that she has, almost at this point. And I agree 100%. Kyle O'Reilly, that spot through the floor, like some of the stuff that they put him through to tell that story, man, he deserves a mention also as MVP of the night.
They should make an "Oh my God, I tried to kill Kyle" T-shirt or something like that. Like, it's terrible.
Yes.
Right, a match of the night. I mean, this is difficult for me, but I'm going to say the main event just because of the punishment O'Reilly took. Credit to Adam Cole as well.
It's so tough for me, but I really was into that story that Balor and Cross was telling, man. So I'm gonna go with Finn and Cross. Like I said, just because of the elements I mentioned earlier, the fact that the passing of the torch has probably established a guy who was already dominant in his, now, but now he looks unstoppable after dethroning the champion. I love the story there, and I'm going with that.
Also, I will say as well, for regards to predictions and everything else, that NXT Takeover, like I said, I've been watching it since 2015, never has the NXT Women's and the male title changed hands at one takeover. I know this is over 2 nights, but it is the first time that both titles have changed hands. So it's quite, and I'm not saying that's the reason I went for EO or Balor either way, but the fact is that it was quite a huge event. I preferred probably night 1 over night 2. But overall for night 2, I'm going to give it an 8 3/4 out of 10. What are you going to give it?
Yeah, I was leaning towards, like you said, like maybe 8.5, 9. It was a couple of things. Like I said, as good as a lot of matches were, was a little element with 1 or 2 of the matches that may have been NXT, regular NXT worthy instead of takeover worthy. That may take away from it, but. Man, give me Cross and Balor and Volta and Ciampa any day of the week. Give me that type of stuff any day of the week, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So finally, out of all, I think it's quite a question. What match out of the both nights stole the show? I think it would say Volta versus Ciampa is the match that kind of stood head and shoulders above the rest. Would be fair to say.
I agree.
What would you give both nights out of 10 if you had to put them together, overall ranking out of 10? I think for me, I gave a 9 1/4 for the first night, 8 3/4 for the second. So I think a 9 overall. Is it too much to have all this together? I don't know, but I love NXT, so I didn't really struggle with this. So I'm going to say a 9 and then deliver. What about you?
Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is perfect, right in that range. It was really, really good. Like I said, nothing bad at all on any of these matches. Like I said, maybe a couple of them didn't deserve to be takeover worthy. They weren't necessarily takeover worthy, but I thought it was a fun 2 nights. Like I said, great stories were told, and also this is the marking of a new era. Like you said, both women's and the male NXT championships changing hand. And, I'm excited to see what's coming with Cross. Now he can actually have, some title defenses, and also see what Raquel has in that very deep and strong women's division. I'd like to see what would be next for her, down the line. So I thought just for those reasons too, it was these 2 nights were very strong because it's kind of the marking of a new era, post EO and Finn Balor.
Yeah, without that, and it's really interesting as well. That's why we did the polls for the reason as well as the fact that we might have preferred night 1, but the poll wise asked about night 2. Okay, got 5%. Good got 14%. Great got 29%. Awesome 52%.
Wow.
So people rated night 2, and also we should say that Giancarlo took a picture when it was 100% awesome and just said, "Can we leave it that way?" But you have got your wish. Because it has been awesome. It has been a fantastic takeover. I mean, when you consider there was 2 hours on the Wednesday, an hour and 15 of prelude, and the 2 hours 40 minutes, and we've been doing it for 2.5 hours. It's been so enjoyable, and it has flown by, hasn't it?
Once again, another review down, another great time. And I agree. It always fly by, and these shows also, even though, like you said, like Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are probably the only match that I can even say even went remotely too long, So, the pacing of these takeovers is still probably the best pacing of any major pay-per-view like type of event that they have. The pacing. That's the one thing I love the most about NXT. Their shows are always beautifully paced.
Exactly. Before you know it, you've get into the major matches that you're looking forward to. And like I said, Takeover always delivered. Or tonight, stand and deliver. What a cheesy way to end the episode. But don't forget, that is it. Before we go, our follow of the week. Do you like semen? No, sorry. Before we go.
No, Lord. Here we go.
Before we go, before we go, our follow of the week is Puro Seeker. Don't forget across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Do you want to just plug your stuff quickly?
All right. I'm on Twitter at MindofMonty Pod. I changed my @name back. I had a lot of people complaining. You need to stop switching the name. Okay. MindofMonty Pod. MindofMonty is the name of the podcast. We returned. We did a WrestleMania and NXT predictions pod, and we will be recapping WrestleMania next week. So look out for that. Check me out on Twitter, and thank you once again, WNR, and for having me. I love doing these, and it's just great, man, talking about these events, and it just adds a fun element. I love the fact that I get to jot down notes and know that all right, me and James are gonna break this stuff down, and I like that new element to my take. That's cool.
I completely agree with it. And the thing is, like I said, for 2 days, I've been watching wrestling non-stop. And now you get a chance to sit down and go into detail and just get it all out your system, everything you've seen, and just be like, this is a reason. There's a reason for it. It's not just a case of going back to work on the Monday morning. It's like, yes, we can actually get through it, talk about it as well. And that's what's great about it. And like I said, check Monty out as well, and of course the WNR on Facebook and Instagram, of course all the Google platforms. To listen, email WNR Podcast at gmail.com, and YouTube WNR Podcast for latest clips. Podcasts like saying Tom and YouTubers do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be WrestleMania with Jaxie Scarlett, but next with Monty, well, we've got a lot coming up. We've got New Japan in May we're going to catch up on, and then another NXT update. But I also wanted to ask you, because the WNR's anniversary is May 4th, and I'm wondering if, I was thinking maybe to get a couple of people together and just maybe to hit a couple of subjects. Basically, it's where were you on May 4th, 2015, because that's when the WNR podcast started. It would be interesting to see where you were. Best match since May 2015. Being on the WNR podcast, and I thought we could also have a look at the Jericho and Austin podcast. I'm going to try and get everybody together and review it individually and see what everybody else thinks about that one show.
Okay, sounds good to me. I'm down. I'm completely.
We'll see what happens. I mean, it might just be me and you, and everybody else tells me to fuck off. But if that's the case, so what?
Right. Who cares? Let's do it.
Hey, as long as you and me together, mate, we'll be fine. Like I said, it's always a pleasure. I have been James Rhodes, and I was joined by the fantastic Mind of Monty. But until then, that is it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.
Adios.